Not YouTube, and welcome back to New Yo with me, the Rambling Groundhopper. We are back with the non-league show, episode 3. It is the start of National League season, as well as the down to Tier 7 as well, starting their season as well as the FA Cup extra preliminary round games as well. So we've got a lot to go through in this episode. So we're just going to dive straight into it, really, with Freddie Sears. Remember him? Well, he is signed for Brentwood Town. Brentwood Town Football Club announced the signing of striker Freddie Sears ahead of the 2026-27 season. And the 36-year-old arrives at the arena with an outstanding footballing CV, bringing a wealth of experience from the Premier League, the Football League, and the non-league game. Sears began his career at West Ham United, where he made his Premier League debut, before gaining further experience during loan spells with Crystal Palace, Coventry City, Scunthorpe United and Colchester United. After impressing during his initial spell with Colchester, he made a permanent move to the youth and went on to score 29 goals in 91 appearances, before earning a move to Ipswich Town. At Portman Road, Sears enjoyed a hugely successful period, making 203 appearances and scoring 32 goals across several seasons in the Championship. He later returned to Colchester United, adding a further 16 goals and 76 appearances, before spells with Dagenham and Redbridge, Braintree Town, Chatham Town and Maldon and Tiptree. Sears was part of the Braintree Town squad that won promotion to the National League in the 2023-24 season, and most recently enjoyed a prolific campaign with Maldon and Tiptree, where he scored 29 goals in 44 appearances. He finished as the Isthmian League North Division's top goalscorer and played a key role in the club's title-winning campaign. With Premier League and Football League experience, with proven goal-scoring pedigree and recent success at Set 4, Sears adds quality leadership and a significant attacking threat to Keith Rowland's squad. Angus MacDonald has joined Kidderminster Harriers, as Paul Wotton landed a major signing just days before the start of the season with the acquisition of vastly experienced defender Angus MacDonald. The 33-year-old has close to 400 senior appearances to his name in England and Scotland, having initially established himself in non-league at the start of his career. After spells with Torquay, Wimbledon and Salisbury, he moved into the Championship with Barnsley and later featured for Hull, Rotherham and Swindon before a move to Scotland with Aberdeen. While north of the border, he featured in many high-profile matches across 3 seasons, including captaining the Dons in Europe. He left there in 2025 and spent time in the EFL with Exeter City and Barrow, and the latter coming at the back end of last season. MacDonald brings considerable experience and leadership to the squad, penning a 2-year deal at Agborough. Jamie Osborne has left Solihull Moors after 8 years. I think Daryl Eales, the CEO of Solihull Moors, describes Osborne's departure at the best, I think, in his leaving letter, which I will now read. I've taken the liberty of writing this piece personally to celebrate Jamie Osborne's remarkable contribution to Solihull Moors, both on and off the pitch. He was the heartbeat of the club throughout my ownership over the past 8 years, during which time the club has had the highest league finishes in its history, reaching the playoffs 3 times, the playoff final twice, and the final of the FA Trophy. But Jamie's contribution has been so much more than statistics. He joined Moors in 2016, his first spell at the club, and we have Marcus Bignot to thank for bringing Jamie to what, and I hope he feels the same way, is his spiritual home. Jamie follows Marcus to Grimsby later that season, but he returned midway through the 2017-18 season, initially on loan, but in January 2018, Mike Turl secured Jamie on a permanent basis. And this is where the story really begins. Who can ever forget the great escape, the miraculous recovery from a seemingly hopeless league position at Christmas, with safety achieved with a game to spare? Jamie was central to this as part of a midfield trio of Carter, Storer and Osborne, under the leadership of Mark Yates and Tim Flowers. I became chairman in summer 2018, and I think, tongue-in-cheek, said to Flowers, "Tim, just make sure we avoid a relegation battle. Mid-table would be marvellous." Jamie's response on hearing this was, "Chairman, we can win this league." I cannot stress how critical that confidence and ambition was to me, and it raised my sights to what Moors could be as a real community football club, both on the pitch and in the contribution it could make to the local community. I, together with so many others, owe a huge debt of gratitude to Jamie on so many levels. Throughout my time in football, I've often been told to not get friendly with players, but this is not my approach. Relationships, loyalty, and candour to address issues are at the heart of Moors, and no one has exemplified this more than Jamie. On the pitch, I still maintain that at his peak, Jamie is as good as any player to have played at National League level. His ability to marshal a game, keeping the ball when others are panicking, creating space when none seem to exist, ghosting through gaps with individual balance and poise, and of course his superb range of passing. Off the pitch, he supported Moore's community-based approach, and his buy-in to all things Moore's has been exemplary. He makes everyone, especially youngsters, feel special and is always a willing ear. He has deservedly won our community contribution on a regular basis. In the spirit of friendship, Ozzy is not perfect. He loves a little moan and he can be a little chippy on the pitch. He's also probably not the top of most referees' Christmas card lists. Jamie has become synonymous with Moors. He has given all for his shirt and has been at the centre of our transformation from a part-time non-league club to a full-time professional established national league club with ambitions to reach the EFL whilst remaining embedded in our local community. James has a deep love of family and community, allied to a heartwarming humility and a shy avoidance of the limelight. This is the measure of a man. Football clubs are complex entities. They compete on the pitch, operate as a business, serve as community anchors, and carry the hopes and dreams of supporters, whilst creating lifetime memories for all. But at heart, they are ultimately about people and relationships. It is relatively rare that players become a part of the institutional fabric of a club, and this is the finest compliment I can give Jamie. On behalf of everyone connected with Moore's supporters, players, staff, volunteers, and the wider community, we simply say thank you. You leave, hopefully temporarily, with our admiration, our gratitude, and our respect. As chairman, I've been fortunate to help lift the club to new levels. As a supporter, I have so many lifelong memories. Your contribution to both these elements and creating a legacy with no league table can ever measure will never be forgotten. Daryl. P.S. As you can deduce, there's a huge amount of affection between myself and Jamie. Accordingly, Jamie will make his own announcement as to what his plans are in the future. So that's Daryl Leal's statement from Solihull Moors. Moving on to Martin Carruthers and his sack. He wasn't sacked. He shockingly resigned from Basford. With just a week before the start of the Northern Premier League Midland Division season, Martin Carruthers and Saul Deeney resigned, despite signing a new contract only in May. The resignation came as a shock to a lot of people, and Academy manager Matt Carbon and the club captain Henry Wilder have become interim in charge. They confirmed they've had 105 applications for the job, by the way. It'll be interesting who takes over the reins on a full-time basis. Rob Smethurst has resigned as Macclesfield director. The director of Macclesfield FC has resigned 2 months after he was suspended following his arrest. Local businessman Rob Smethurst stopped in to buy the defunct Macclesfield Town in 2020 and oversaw the club's rise from the 9th tier of English football to the National League North. The journey reached its pinnacle when the Silkmen defeated FA Cup holders Crystal Palace in what was the greatest upset in the competition's history. Smethurst's departure comes after he was suspended after his arrest in May on suspicion of a coercive control offence. In a statement, Macclesfield FC said that he had other personal interests away from the club, but remained a shareholder. Smethurst declined to comment, and Smethurst has openly spoken of how founding the football club saved his life from addiction. His role at the club was key to rebuilding his life, as was his partnership with long-term friend Robbie Savage. The club said, with the consent of Robert Smethurst, Macclesfield FC can confirm that Rob has formally decided to resign as a director. We respect the fact that Rob has other personal interests away from the football club, and by accepting his resignation, he is able to spend more time pursuing these. It added, the club wishes to clarify that while Rob steps down from his day-to-day governance on the board of directors, he will remain a shareholder. In this capacity, we look forward to Rob's continued backing as we get ready for an exciting new season ahead. In June, he was suspended following his arrest in Wilmslow, Cheshire, on the 19th of May on suspicion of a coercive control offence. He was bailed pending further inquiries, and Cheshire Constabulary said at the time he dismissed the allegations against him as an absolute load of rubbish. The club said in June that it was aware of reports circulating, and Smethurst had been temporarily been relieved of all duties associated with the club, while legal guidance is sought. Sturminster Newtons had their first game in the FA Cup since 1878. We'll do the reports of the FA Cup later on, but I just want to talk about a bit of the atmosphere beforehand in this game, as the Emirates FA Cup trophy made a special visit to Sturminster Newton United this week, as the Dorset club prepares for one of the most significant fixtures in its history. Fans, players, club staff, and members of the local community gathered at the club stadium this week to see the iconic silverware ahead of Stir's extra preliminary round tie against Portland United on Saturday. The visit comes as a landmark moment for the club, which is appearing to take part in the competition for the first time in 148 years, marking the longest gap between FA Cup appearances in history. They were founded in 1871, the same year as the FA Cup itself, and Sturminster Newton United traces its roots back to a founder club called Sturminster Newton Panthers, who were one of the competition's early participants. Records show that the club's last appearance in the competition came in December 1878, when it's believed that the squad made a 2-day journey by horse and carriage to London to face Old Harrovians at the Oval just 4 days before Christmas. This time the challenge was much closer to home, with a 35-mile trip to fellow Dorset side Portland United, and that stood between them and a place in the preliminary round against Moneyfields. The trophy's arrival in the town provided a fitting opportunity to celebrate the remarkable history and mark the start of a new FA Cup journey for the club and its supporters. The club also created a number of commemorative items to mark the occasion, including special pennants and bespoke warm-up shirts featuring both the current Sturminster Newton United crest and the crest of the founder club Sturminster Newton Panthers. The shirts, which feature the number 148 on the back, was worn by players in the warm-up ahead of Saturday's tie, and club chairman Lee Bright commented on the opportunity to have silverware at the club. The whole town's been buzzing all week to see the trophy, with teams from youth ages right through to the seniors, and to see them all have their moment with the cup has been great. For this to happen and to make history in the way that we are is phenomenal, and we're really looking forward to Saturday. As attention now turns to this weekend's match, the club will hope that the celebration of the past can inspire a memorable return to the competition almost 150 years on. I'll discuss a bit about that when we actually get around to the FA Cup roundup, but we're going to talk about the crowd fund for Callum Ibe's ACL. Walthamstow captain Callum Ibe suffered an ACL injury in a friendly against Broadbridge Heath. He's just 13 appearances short of being Stowe's all-time top appearance maker. And manager Max Mitchell then set up a crowdfunder, and one of the donors was a certain Jack Grealish, who gave £1,500 to aid the recovery. I'm sure everyone at the club and Ibe cannot express how grateful they are for this donation. And if you want to donate yourself, I've put a link in the comment section of this video, so do feel free for that. Carl McAdam has signed for Southend United on a 2-year deal with a club option for a third, with a 21-year-old arriving on the expiry of his contract at Nottingham Forest. And he spent time of a 2025-26 campaign on loan in League One with Mansfield Town and Northampton Town. McAdam has already had his first taste of Roots Hall action, having featured off the bench in the 4-0 win over Ebbsfleet in their final pre-season friendly. It feels great and it feels right, which is important, McAdam said shortly after completing the move. I'm excited for the season ahead and to get going on Saturday. Fans can expect energy, aggression and directness from me. I want to get forwards and involved in attacking play. McAdam was an FA Youth Cup finalist with Forest under-18s in 2021-22 and playing both for full 90 minutes in the semi-final win over Chelsea and final defeat to Manchester United. His senior debut came in the EFL Trophy for Nottingham Forest under-21s, featuring in a 2-0 win over Carlisle United. He also played a prominent role in the under-21s Premier League International Cup success, playing in every minute as the Trees beat Ajax, Monaco, Athletic Bilbao and Lyon to win the tournament. After impressing at youth level, McAdam's next senior experience came on loan at Mansfield Town, appearing 15 times and scoring in the Stags FA Cup second round win over Accrington Stanley. He then swapped Nottinghamshire for Northamptonshire, joining Northampton Town until the end of the 2025-26 campaign, and he made 8 more appearances in League One, assisting goals against his former club at Mansfield and against Wigan Athletic. We had Carl in mind for a while, but he was on trial at an AFL club, Dyer commented. So we had to bide our time, but as soon as he became available, we were delighted to get him. He fits the profile, great in attack, very direct, and fans got a glimpse of that on Saturday. Billy Vigor's tragic death has unfortunately led to the FA banning concrete. The Football Association has banned solid perimeter walls around pitches after a safety review was launched following the death of former Arsenal youth player Billy Vigor. The 21-year-old died after sustaining a significant brain injury while playing for Chichester City at Wingate and Finchley in September 2025. It is thought the injury was caused when he collided with a concrete wall. A review conducted by an independent health and safety expert for the 2026-27 season said it no longer permits solid brick, breeze block, or concrete barriers around pitches across the National League system for men on the steps 1 to 6 and for the Women's National League with tiers 3 to 4. An FA statement added, any existing solid brick, breeze block, or concrete barriers must be removed as soon as reasonably practicable and or covered with a suitable protection if they cannot be removed for structural reasons. We have informed the clubs at this level that will be required to take action as a result of these changes. Matches at affected grounds can continue as long as the clubs assess the safety of the pitch perimeter barriers on an ongoing basis and plan to make changes within a reasonable time frame. The FA and the Premier League will provide funding to facilitate the changes. After Vigor's death, a petition calling for a ban on brick walls around football pitches has received more than 4,000 signatures. The government and the Professional Footballers Association wrote to the FA, Premier League, English Football League and the National League in June 2023, calling them to adopt a more proactive approach to player safety in this area. That came after Bath City's Alex Fletcher suffered a fractured skull after colliding with a concrete advertising hoarding during a match in November 2022. Well, it's about time we did talk about Ebbsfleet United's shock suspension. It does feel a long time ago, though, doesn't it? But the club were informed by the National League at 9:30 on Thursday morning that after a committee meeting the previous night on the 5th of August, they had come to the decision to suspend the club for the first 3 matches of the season. The first 3 league matches will be postponed as a result and rescheduled for a later date. Obviously, for the playing group, management, staff, and most importantly, supporters, this has come as a shock and is extremely upsetting. The league wrote to the club owners last week in response to the HMRC winding up petition and requested assurances around the debt and other liabilities and asked for a response by midday on August the 5th. They had been advised these debts would be satisfied in time, and a statement on August the 4th outlined that. The owner's letter of response to the league on Wednesday proposed that the HMRC debt would be cleared by the end of August, once a full transfer of ownership had taken place, and the league in their letter this on I think it was a Thursday morning, have highlighted the inconsistency in undertakings by the ownership. The league's letter also identifies their concerns around the club's budgeting for the upcoming season and the debt position, although that information was presented on July the 10th with the club's budget pack to the league within compliant timelines. Vetting and financial checks for the new proposed ownership and takeover have taken place for over the last 12 months and were approved by the league on May the 1st in writing. However, with the recent overturning of a Northfleet Harbourside development, the league has also raised concerns around the club's financial viability, with debt that has been placed into the club and how it is treated. The league have provided the owners until 10 a.m. on August the 19th to rectify its position and demonstrate this to the league. Obviously, their players, staff, and supporters have taken a number of blows in the last week, none of which is within their control or a result of their work or actions, and are understandably nervous while the ownership situation is resolved. Everyone has worked so hard and completed an excellent pre-season, and I hope this is rectified so we can discuss their results instead of off-the-field problems in the near future. So we're going to go and get into the footballing action with the National League roundup. And we're going to start with Boreham Wood's 3-3 draw with Tamworth. Luke Garrard's Wood welcomed Andy Pink's Lambs to the Meadow Park for the opening game of the 2026-27 season. And with the Lambs chairman Abdullah Ashraf watching his first competitive game since the summer takeover, expectations were understandably high from the new boardroom. And they're visiting Tamworth fans to build further on last season's 11th place finish. Buoyed by the fact they had beaten their hosts at home and away in the previous campaign, Peake's updated squad nearly made it 3 out of 3, and in the end deserved to take a share of the spoils at home. Tamworth got the match underway in glorious sunshine, and the game started slow, although the home side forced a couple of corners in the first 5 minutes, making the Lambs defend incoming set pieces. They did so without too much trouble, but Wood continued to press Tamworth back without creating a chance, and when the Lambs saw the light at the other end of the pitch, Theo Kurteran's low drive from the right of the box on 11 minutes forced Gunter into a low stop at his near post. A trip by Ben Akwai on Zach Brunt on the right of the area after 15 minutes saw the same player roll the ball through the box to James Clark, and his first-time effort looked destined for the top corner, but he hadn't banked on was Jas Singh's reactions as the keeper leapt high to his left and pushed it to safety one-handed. Tyler Gordon went down in the box after 19 minutes, and referee Aaron Jackson waved away his claims for a foul by Tyler Little. Then on 25 minutes, Kurteran saw another opener, but his placed shot from range went out past the left-hand post without troubling Gunter. There was a break in play for a hydration break on the 28th minute on the clock, and even with the pitch, got a dousing while the players restored their levels and got their instructions. After play restarted, a home corner was headed high and wide by Lewis Richardson, and although the ball was in the back of the net on 32 minutes, it had gone out of play before the cross came in and denied Matt Rush's close-range header. Joe Wright put a timely challenge in to deny Rush as he nipped through the Lambs' back line and snapped a shoot with the first half minutes remaining. And when Golden struck from the left of the box on the 41st minute, Singh parried it and mopped up the danger before Rush could capitalise. Luke Fairland combined with Akwai down the left, and the former drilled it into the box, but there was no one to finish the chance. As 3 minutes of added time was shown, there was a bounce towards the home keeper that completely evaded Gunter as he raced out of his area. And it was Kieran Donnelly who the chance came to, which he took with great delight in finishing in front of the home fans. However, scores were a level a second before the half-time whistle blew, when a cross from the left was not stopped and Rush found the back of the net with a header at the far post. Boreham Wood started the second half on the front foot, pushing Tamworth back, but a quick break and a cross from Little on the 51st minute caught split the home defence, and TJ Brambles for his far post header deflected away. Tamworth deservedly got back in front on the 57th minute, though, after Little throw was flicked on by Cullinan Liberd and was not dealt with. At least 3 Lambs players tried to shoot before a deflection from Nathan Tashakuna's strike fell for Donnelly to rifle home from 6 yards out. There was then a prolonged stoppage period while the referee responded to an incident in the in the stand behind Singh. And when play resumed on a kick from the Lambs keeper, it went uncharacteristically short and was picked up by the highly rated Abdul Abdulhamid, who raced to the left edge of the box and found Rush perfectly placed to level the tie from a few yards out. And Rush completed his hat-trick 2 minutes later, sliding in at the far post to finish a clumsy but effective move into the area and turn the game on its head. There was another refreshment break soon after, and Tamworth made 3 changes for the final act of the afternoon's entertainment, and it was 2 of the substitutes, Jake Hutchinson and Tom McGlinchey, that combined with 6 minutes remaining, as the latter took the former's ball into the box and forced Gunter to protect his near post with a low stop. Oliver Dyson took to the field for a final few minutes of normal time, which increased to another 10 with a 4th official showed his board. Scores were nearly level on the 94th minute when Cullinan Libard looped a backwards header over the underside of the bar and was scrambled away for a corner. and Woods Cashman picked his spot a minute or two later, and Singh was happy to watch it rise over the bar. The Lambs keeper was called into action to deny a right-footed shot from substitute Marley Marshall Miranda in the next move. Dan Creaney then flicked a header on for McGlinchey to set Dyson up, but his shot was pushed away and smothered by Gunter at the second attempt. And when McGlinchey was brought down by Cashman with the clock on 100 minutes, there was one last chance for the Lambs to take a point from the game, and Milnes duly stepped up and powered a shot past Gunter to the delight of the Lambs, directors, the bench, and the travelling faithful. Hartlepool United won 2-0 at home to Barrow, with the Bulls boss Lee Clark opting to start 7 summer signings against the Cumbrian outfit, including last season's loanee Cameron John. Despite a lively opening to the match, there was a lack of clear-cut chances for both sides, with Nolan firing wide from outside of the box on 20 minutes. But Bulls found a breakthrough late in the first half, when after a clever free kick from Jamie Miley, Brooklyn Ilunga's cross from the left flank was cleared only to Harris, whose half volley arrowed home into the top left corner. Minutes later, though, the Bluebirds also responded when Innes Cameron was released one-on-one with Max Merrick, but his chipped effort drifted wide. Just past the hour mark, Scott Smith's close-range finish for Barrow was quickly ruled out for offside, before Max Coogan saw his header from Nolan's teasing set-piece denied by Ben Winterbottom on the 76th minute. With 5 minutes of normal time to go, Nolan doubled the advantage for Pools, coolly placing home into the bottom right corner from the edge of the box. It was nearly free for Clark's side midway through injury time, with Nathan Sharon's powerful strike inside the Barrow box being stopped by Winterbottom. Forest Green Rovers ran out 3-2 winners over FC Halifax Town, as it was a tough start for Rovers, and Halifax actually took an early lead as Ben Tollett's cross caused trouble in the Rovers box, which forced Luke McNicholas into a save before Flint was able to find the back of the net. Rovers reacted well and pushed for an equaliser, with an effort from James Berry firing off the post after 16 minutes. Amika Obi was forced off after 37 minutes with a horrible-looking injury. Tate Campbell came on in his place, and Carl McAllister then came close to an equaliser in the 44th minute. But his effort from outside the box was kept out by the visiting keeper, True Grant. Robbie Savage's side started the second half much better, and were back level just 3 minutes in, with new signing Mbete got on the end of a McAllister's cross and then headed home an equaliser, beating Grant into the Shaman goal. Rovers then went ahead just before the hour mark, with Sean Etaluku netting his first in green, with brilliant footwork on the right from a winger, and the finish was even better as it curled past Grant. Mbete could have had his second and Rovers' third in the 62nd minute, but the keeper was equal to his effort. Forest Green then finally added a third in the 79th minute with Captain McAllister. The Scottish wizard got in on the act, and the visitors' attempted clearance could only find the Rovers skipper, who swept the ball into the bottom left corner in front of the south stand. John McGrath's side pulled one back in stoppage time through Zach Gilsonen with a fine free kick, but it had no impact on the outcome. Boston United lost a narrowly 1-0 defeat to Aldershot Town, and United handed out 5 full debuts ahead of kick-off, while Rooney, Jamie Grimes and Lennon Wilden all started their first matches as permanent pilgrims. The home side were bright in the early stages, with Jack Holmes forcing Hayes into a low save, and Curzons firing 2 presentable efforts off target, following good play from Wilden and Connor Teal, respectively. Louis Chadwick made an instinctive stop to deny Michael Stickland at the other end, as the game remained deadlocked at half-time. United were again on the front foot at the second half when Wilden whistled an effort too high from 22 yards, and then Hayes excelling to claw aside Curzon's close-range effort 7 minutes after a restart. Aldershot took the decisive 59th minute lead when Hakeem Sander danced into the penalty area to pull the ball back for Gilbert to lash home a rising drive which left Chadwick powerless. A flurry of United substitutions followed as Paul Hurst and Luke Waterfall chased a route back into the game. But the Pilgrims needed a big Chadwick save to deny Gilbert his second. Nino Adam Malarkey also blazed wide when well placed as United lived on the edge. But the Pilgrims' only chance of note in the closing stages saw John Lewis, his name is Shaw, denied by a low save. Niall Canavan received a late caution, but the referee Richie Watkins also carded Rooney for a second time for a foul early in the move, having played an older shot advantage to compound a deeply frustrating afternoon on home turf. Southend United ran out 3-1 winners away to Altrincham, and the Shrimpers had the first chance of the game after just 5 minutes. Harry Cardwell intercepted Matty Cosilo's pass, and from this, the Blues were able to fashion a chance, with Chambers Parolon's cross picking out Charlie Kendall. But his header looped over the target, and 3 minutes after this, Altrincham took the lead. Barlow was slipped in behind by Sam Taylor, and his shot was well saved by Duncan, but the loose ball ran towards the back post where it was tapped in by Crawford. With just under 10 minutes of the first half left to play, Southend equalised through Chambers Parolon. The winger, who scored against Leyton Orient in pre-season, cut inside from the left, drifted past outie captain Crawford with ease before drilling a low effort past Owen Evans at his near post and into the bottom corner. This being his second goal in Southend's last 4 competitive away games, following his strike at FC Halifax Town in April. The hosts had the last chance of the first half, with Crawford's rasping long-range effort having to be parried away by Duncan. The Shrimpers had conceded 8 minutes into the first half, and 8 minutes into the second period, they did the opposite, with Coker turning the game on its head. Cardwell blocked an attempt clearance from Altrincham goalkeeper Evans, and the striker cleverly backheeled it into Coker's path, and the skipper side-footed home into the unguarded net. This marked the second time in his Southend career that he has scored on the opening day of the season, having done so against Oldham Athletic in 2023-24. Kieran Dyer's side kept the pressure up with Chambers Parolon sending an edge of the box effort just wide, and Ryan Colclough drilling a shot straight at Evans. Whilst at the other end, Cosilo flashed an effort over for Altrincham. Altrincham already facing an uphill battle, but things soon got worse for them 20 minutes from time when Cosilo received 2 yellow cards in the space of 3 minutes, his second coming following a foul on Colclough to reduce them down to 10 men. The Shrimpers took full advantage of this with a trio of players coming close in quick succession. First, Coker bent an effort towards goal that was parried out by Evans, straight to Kamara, whose rebound was blocked on the line by the Alty keeper, and the loose ball cannoned off Chambers Parolon and over the bar. 10 minutes from time, Evans was tested again. Vontae Daly Campbell and Kamara linked up well on the right wing throughout the second half, and the former had a shot that had to be tipped over, and 5 minutes from time, the Shrimpers made a pressure count when Cardwell made it 3-1. A heavy touch inside the Southend half from Charlie Kirk was pounced on by Colclough, who then pinged a crossfield pass out to the ever lively Kamara, who slipped in Cardwell, and he drilled an effort into the far corner to seal the 3 points. Hornchurch were very impressive, and they won 3-0 over Kidderminster Harriers. Hornchurch actually made history in emphatic fashion on Saturday afternoon, as they began their first ever National League campaign with a superb 3-0 victory over Kidderminster Harriers at Bridge Avenue. On a landmark afternoon for the club, the Urchins produced an outstanding display in front of a brilliant atmosphere from home supporters. Hornchurch claimed to deserve 3 points and immediately established themselves near the top of the National League table, with a result lifting Hornchurch into second place. Darryl McMahon named a strong starting lineup for this historic fixture, and the game got underway and Hornchurch made a bright start and immediately looked to utilise their long throw threat. After just 3 minutes, Ling's delivery found Ferguson inside the penalty area, with a midfielder cutting onto his left foot before seeing his effort turned over by Dave Richards as the Urchins applied early pressure. Hornchurch were then soon forced onto the back foot, with Nasta producing a superb save in the 7th minute to deny Levi Amanchi. Sandat then dealt with a resulting corner, heading the ball away from danger. Another long throw from Hornchurch caused problems on the 11th minute for Kidderminster, with the ball eventually falling to Rate. His fired shot went just over the crossbar, and Hornchurch continues to dominate proceedings, and their pressure was finally rewarded in the 19th minute with a goal, which will forever hold a special place in the club's history. A corner from a right was flicked on the near post by Innis, and Kizzy reacted quickest to turn the ball home from close range and give the Urchins a deserved lead and score Hornchurch's first ever National League goal, with celebrations around Bridge Avenue reflecting the significance of the moment. The Urchins then kept being a threat to the Harriers' defence and doubled their advantage just 7 minutes later. After rolling another dangerous ball forward, Hearn chased down Angus MacDonald, with the pressure eventually resulting in a disastrous own goal as the ball rolled past Richards and straight into an empty net, to give the Urchins a 2-goal cushion. The hosts were now firmly in control and continued to threaten as the first half progressed, and found a third in the 34th minute. A ball from left from Hearn found Welch around 20 yards from goal, with a midfielder making a touch into the box and striking a powerful volley effort right into the net past Richards, which allowed Darren McMahon's men to go top for a moment of the magic in the league table. With Kidderminster struggling to contain Hornchurch, the game went more defensive, and the Urchins headed into the interval with commanding a 3-goal advantage. The second half kicked off and Hornchurch came out looking to extend their lead after a restart and almost found a fourth within a minute of the second half. Hearn found himself one-on-one with Richards, but the goalkeeper stood tall to make an excellent save. A minute later, after Hearn's chance, Ferguson then broke forward and squared the ball towards Sandat, whose efforts were directed narrowly wide. Kidderminster's Callum Dolan was then shown a yellow card in the 53rd minute for a foul on Hearn, before Hearn himself entered the referee's box 4 minutes later. Afterwards, play was briefly stopped as Welch received treatment, with Miles Weston being introduced 2 minutes later as his replacement. The substitute, though, almost made an immediate impact, as Weston cut inside from the right before firing towards goal. But Richards produced another good save to keep the score at 3-0. Kidderminster kept continuing to search for a route back into the match, but Hornchurch remained defensively resolute. Amanchi saw an effort blocked by Innis in the 66th minute before a resulting corner was safely cleared. The hosts continued to create opportunities despite their comfortable advantage, as Sandat headed a good chance wide in the 77th minute, before Rate saw an effort turn behind. From the resulting pressure by Hornchurch, a cross found Kizzy in the far end of the move. His header crashed off the crossbar as Hornchurch came within inches of adding a fourth. Yearwood was shown a yellow card in the 84th minute, and Kidderminster continued to push for a consolation goal in the closing stages. But Hornchurch's defence remained organised and determined to preserve their clean sheet. Lewis Walker saw an effort turned over by Nasta before Wright was booked in the stoppage time. There was still time for Hornchurch's Weston to create another opportunity in the 4th minute of added time, but his effort was dragged wide. Then the final whistle was blown by the referee, and that confirmed a historic afternoon for the Urchins, as Hornchurch had done exactly what was required on their biggest day in the club's history at this level. For a club embarking on its first ever campaign at this level, it was a statement performance, and one which will live long in the memories of everyone connected with Hornchurch. The supporters in Bridge Avenue witnessed a historic afternoon as the Urchins announced themselves on the National League stage in spectacular fashion and confirmed a place to say second place in the league. AFC Fylde drew 2-2 with Wealdstone. Wealdstone also almost made a perfect start to the season. Oh, bless me. The kickoff was passed to Dante Baptiste, who played a long ball into the path of Luke Norris. He expertly chested the ball and fired a volley towards the top corner from outside the box, which had to be stopped by Zach Jones. Following a shaky start, the hosts grew into the game. They created an excellent chance in the 9th minute as some intricate play saw Chris Merry played through on goal. Baptiste was able to make himself big and pull off a top save to keep the scorers level. Wealdstone's number 1 was forced into action once again 3 minutes later, as Danny Mayer was able to glide through the centre of the park and place a shot towards the top corner. But Baptiste palmed the shot away at full stretch. The Coasters forced Baptiste into yet another top draw save just before the half-hour mark, and a deflected cross fell into the path of a prolific Dami Ormerod, but he was off balance and as he took his shot. The lack of power on the strike almost caught Baptiste out, but he was able to readjust and keep the ball out of the net. Gary Waddock's side struggled to complete a pass in the final half, and this sloppiness almost cost them. The hosts capitalised on a loose ball and executed an incisive counter-attack, which only lacked a quality finish. This spurred opportunity helped to wake the Stones up. Norris showed good strength to fend off his man and set up Jack Wells Morrison in for the 36th minute. His effort from close range was smothered by the fired goalkeeper, and the game coasted towards half-time. Wealdstone started the second period in a much better fashion, but were unable to create any clear-cut chances. Fylde started to grow into the half just before the 60th minute mark, but they could only create half chances, which didn't cause Baptiste any real trouble. They took the lead in the 66th minute with what can only be described as a rocket of a strike, as Adam Lewis's effort from over 30 yards out flew straight into the top corner, giving Baptiste no chance of making a save. Wealdstone began to get a front foot after falling behind, and in the 75th minute they had two chances to equalise. Energised by the introductions of Aidan Francis Clark, Kyle Smith and Jaden Harris, they pulled together their best passing move of the game. Smith initially crossed at Obiero, whose effort was blocked, before the ball fell to Norris, unmarked on the edge of the 6-yard box, but he could only steer his header wide of goal. The Stones began taking more risks, and while this made them more defensively open, it led to the equaliser in the 78th minute. Smith put in a peach of a cross, and Norris bullied his man to win the header, which bounced over the Coasters' keeper to level the scoring. Fylde regained the lead 6 minutes in from the end of normal time. Jack Norris capitalising on a mistake from Baptiste, but the Stones didn't just lie down and accept defeat. In the 88th minute, Mason Barrett played a long ball upfield, which eventually found its way to Jaden Harris, and he fired a low ball across the box, and Olafula Olamola stole in at the back post to tap in at full stretch. Scunthorpe United drew 1-1 with Yeovil Town. Billy Rowley handed competitive debuts to 9 players out of the starting 11, with only captain Luke McCormick and Ryan Jones having previously featured for Yeovil in a league fixture before kick-off. The opening stages were closely contested, with neither side able to create a clear opportunity during the first 15 minutes. Yeovil's first meaningful opener arrived through Ryan Jones, and Zane Westbrook played the ball forward to Jones on the right, with the winger cutting inside on his left foot, before forcing Louis Jones into a save. Scunthorpe responded as the half progressed, with Patrick Jones becoming the first player booked after bringing down McCormick in midfield. The hosts then created their best opening of the first half when Jones got beyond Archie Davis on the left before working space for a shot. Josh Barker was equal to the effort, producing a smart save to tip the ball around a post before Jordan Norville Williams completed the clearance. Neither side was able to find a breakthrough before the interval, with the opening 45 minutes remaining a cagey affair. Yeovil made one change at the break, with Brett McGavin replacing Hayden Muller, as Rowley looked to give his side additional attacking impetus. It took just 4 minutes for that change to pay dividends, as a wide free kick from Ryan Jones was delivered with precision into the area, where Mason Obeng met the ball first time with a superb volley. His finish flew beyond Louis Jones and into the net to give Yeovil the lead. The Glovers looked to build on their advantage and came close to doubling it when McCormick appeared to have broken through with only the goalkeeper to beat. However, the assistant referee raised the flag for offside, bringing the attack to an end. Scunthorpe continued to look for a way back into the contest, with Yeovil defending resolutely. A dangerous corner caused problems inside the area before Ryan Jones was on hand to head a goal-bound effort clear. Rowley made further changes as the second half progressed, with Joel Powell and James Daly introduced before Jack Kingdon and Joey McKenna also entered the action. Daly almost made an immediate impact when he found space inside the Scunthorpe half, only for Denton to produce a perfectly timed sliding challenge to deny the opportunity to extend Yeovil's advantage. The Glovers continued to defend their lead as the game entered its final stages, with Norval Williams finding a bang inside the box shortly before the forward's attempt was turned behind for a corner. However, Scunthorpe's late pressure finally told in the 89th minute. Quick play across the Yeovil penalty area opened up space for Brennan, who lifted his effort over Barker and into the far corner to bring the host level. Worthing managed to beat Carlisle United 3-2 away from home, and having dominated possession through the opening stages, Carlisle's first real foray into the Rebels' box came in the 10th minute of play. A long ball into the left channel by Toby Malarkey was touched down superbly by former Rebel David Ajiboye, who fed the ball in field for Regan Linney to blast a first-time effort over the bar. Worthing acquitted themselves well defensively for large phases of the first half, with youngsters Moore and Ajeti Brew both showing a maturity in handling different pressured scenarios. However, the visitors' few opportunities to venture into the Blues' half failed to amount to anything worthwhile. With Carlisle looking to turn the screw in the minutes leading up to the interval, the Rebels' defensive stability showed signs of faltering, as the first half came to an end, as the hosts broke the deadlock with 3 minutes of normal time remaining. Picking up an advanced position on the right flank, defender Harvey Bunker stood up across to the centre of the Worthing penalty area. With Fawkes rooted to the spot, Kelly nodded the ball across goal and into the side netting. Only 2 minutes after the opener, Rob Elliott's side were almost gifted a second, as a misjudged back pass by Jaden Moore allowed Linney the chance to drive goalward on the right inside channel, with a former Altrincham striker crashing an effort against the woodwork at Fawkes' near left post. Worthing immediately found more joy in possession following the break, making more assured decisions in the final third to push Carlisle further back inside their own half. In the 66th minute, the Rebels made one of the most of their renewed attacking attempt, as Hutchinson made history by becoming the club's first goal scorer in the fifth tier of English football. A build-up of play down the left flank eventually saw the former Wealdstone man pick up the ball inside the box, twisting and turning before rifling an effort into Archie Mair's top left corner. Any hints of attacking indecision were soon dispelled, with the Rebels taking the game into their own hands upon finding the equaliser, and in the 82nd minute, the travelling contingent was sent into euphoria. A low free kick delivery by Wadham from the right-hand side wasn't dealt with by the hosts' back line, with Coleman de Graft able to pick up possession just inside the box on the right. After holding off his marker, the winger shifted the ball onto a strong left foot before arching a curl effort beyond Mair and into the far corner. Reeling in the aftermath of seeing their lead overturned, the host concentration began to fade heading into the final stages, with the Rebels taking full advantage. Pressing inside the Carlisle half, Aguiar pickpocketed his man before driving into the penalty area, eventually evading several challenges, and the returning midfielder slotted the ball back across the face of the goal with a deft finish to give the visitors a 2-goal advantage. Carlisle managed to pull one back with regulation time close to expiring, as Kelly got his second of the game after a miscommunication between Fawkes and his back line allowed a loose ball into the 6-yard box to fall kindly to the former Harrogate Town man. The Rebels dug in to see out what was remaining of waves of pressure from the Cumbrian outfit, securing a stunning comeback to claim their first ever 3 points in the National League. Sutton United ran out 3-1 winners away to Woking, and the away side finished 19th in the league last season, but they started fast in the opening stages of this match, with a spell of pressure and attempts from Omar Musa and Dan Erpens. Sutton United handed 6 competitive debuts for the club out from the start, and many of those players looked to make an impression with strong tackles in the opening minutes. Woking grew into the game 20 minutes in, swinging dangerous balls into the box and testing the Sutton United back line, with Sean Adarkwa also testing his luck from range. Will Jarskalainen was the first goalkeeper called into the action, however, diving to his left to palm away a Charlie Bell effort from inside the box. Minutes later, the away side took the lead. The ball was launched into the box, and Will Jarskalainen was unable to punch away before it fell to Will Nightingale, who capitalised and turned the ball home. Riding a wave of confidence, Sutton pushed for a second goal in the minutes following their opener, coming close when Omar Musa, previously for Wealdstone, turned the ball across the face of the goal, as well as a header which was gathered by Jarskalainen, before Timmy Akinola struck an effort high and wide. Woking's best effort of the first half came just before the half-time whistle, after a jinking run by Matthew Ward set up Aidan O'Brien, who diverted his header narrowly wide. O'Brien and Matthew Ward also tried their luck before the interval, however young goalkeeper Spike Britz who featured in the Manchester City Youth Academy, remained relatively untested. The visitors started the second half with 2 free kicks in identical positions. The first of which was blocked, but the second of which was curled home wonderfully by Omar Musa to double Sutton's lead. Woking responded fast, piling pressure on into the box, and Aidan O'Brien saw a goal-round effort blocked, and Josh Kelly lifted a free kick over the bar as Woking searched to find a way back into the game. However, the visitors remained a threat, in particular on the counter-attack. Charlie Bell ensured Will Jaaskelainen was continually tested, forcing him into a low save after winning the ball from Caleb Richards. And substitute David Ogbonna was a lively presence in the match for the visitors, and eventually had his say on the match. Ogbonna found himself one-on-one with Will Jaaskelainen and calmly left the ball past the goalkeeper to seal the win for the visitors. Woking came close to scoring in added time as Matthew Ward struck a curling free kick, which was narrowly headed over the bar by a Sutton defender, before Stephen Turner poked wide from a close range in the last action of the match. Eastleigh ran out 2-1 winners over Gateshead, as it was a dominant start from the Spitfires, who had an early penalty shout after 2 minutes played. A dangerous ball in from Harry Sidwell looked to find the head of Ollie Hawkins, but the striker seemed to be dragged to the floor by the Gateshead defender, but the referee remained unfazed. The Spitfires were eventually rewarded for their strong start after Harry Sidwell's glancing header took the roof off the Silver Lake Stadium after 13 minutes was played. His midfield accomplice, Max Dickov, worked the ball well into the box and dug out a dangerous ball for Sidwell to guide home for the Spitfires' first goal of the 2026-27 National League campaign. After a slow start from the visitors, Gateshead carved out their own first opportunity of the game after Billy Chadwick bared down on goal, forcing Nick Townsend into a huge save to keep the Spitfires ahead with 17 minutes played. The Spitfires continued their authority and looked to build on their lead after Josh Lundstrom's delivery into the box found Aaron Blair free of a back post, but his volleyed effort fired wide of the target just 2 minutes later. With the last kick of the first half, Townsend was called into action yet again and produced a huge save for the Spitfires after Carl Ferguson's deflected shot looks destined for an equaliser. Matt Gray's Spitfires came on out of a tunnel unchanged, with Gateshead making just one substitution, with Tyrrell Newton replacing Tommy Lavery. The Spitfires came out with the same first half intensity, with Josh Lundstrom doubling Eastleigh's lead after 51 minutes played. A neat passage of play between Sidwell and Nick Okoto freed up the fullback to drive at the Gateshead defence, picking out Josh Lundstrom to fire home into the bottom left corner. In the 56 minutes, the Spitfires were forced into an unfortunate change after Tommy Dobson Ventura was replaced by Temi Iwika through injury. With 30 minutes left to play, the Spitfires came close to a third after Dickov's whisk cross found Blair, but he couldn't tap home inside the box. That was Dickov's last action of the afternoon before being replaced by new signing Dion Runkine for his first minutes as a Spitfire. The Spitfires kept probing for their third of the game, heading into the final 10 minutes, with Ollie Hawkins' headed effort being caught well by Adam Desbois, following a corner. In the first minute of additional time, summer signing Will Randall made his first appearance in a Spitfire shirt after returning from injury, replacing Nick Okoto after another strong display from a fullback. Gateshead pulled a goal back, though, courtesy of Ashley Boatswain to make life tricky for the Spitfires, heading into the final minutes of additional time. But the Eastleigh side dug deep and held on to their lead, giving them an opening day to remember at the Silver Lake Stadium. Harrogate Town ran out 5-2 winners over Solihull Moors. Harrogate started the game on the front foot, but couldn't find a way past new keeper Max Metcalf on his Moors debut, or the superb Alex Whitmore until just before half-time. After saving an early free kick, former Stockport stopper Metcalf continually took a couple of nice catches and then pulled off a terrific save from Harrogate new boy Brad Dollahan. One of 7 debutants for the home side and brilliantly palming the ball away with a strong left hand in what was a solid start for the new number 1. Dollahan, who was a constant threat for Harrogate, mishit a shot after superbly taken across under his control. Metcalf was happy to collect the weak effort. A minute before the break, Harrogate defender Archie Baptiste took the advantage of the lucky bounce just outside the box, and on the half volley unleashed a tremendous finish out of nowhere to put his side on a goal ahead on his debut for the club. Ben Watsko came on for the second half, replacing Henry Ryler as Chris Millington looked to get his side back into the game. A couple of counter-attacks and crosses came to nothing, though, as the Moors searched for chances, with Matty Carson coming the closest, striking a free kick narrowly over the bar from around 25 yards out. And Bryn Morris scored Harrogate's second goal after having a powerful drive blocked by Whitmore. The captain's second attempt took a heavy deflection off Tyrrell Warren, but the ball looping up and over Metcalf's grasp. Wadsku was desperately unlucky to have his shot deflected just wide, following a good run into the box by Wakelin. Metcalf again did well to catch a rasping effort from Morris, and Bailey Hobson fizzed an effort just over the bar from a distance as the hosts looked to increase their lead further. Wakelin gave the Moors a lifeline of the 71st minute with an instinctive header. After winning the original corner with a decent strike, number 9 reacted in lightning fast to nod substitute Ben Wadsko's effort into the back of the net. As the tide began to turn in the Moors' favour, Wakelin twice went close to an equaliser, coming close agonisingly into scoring after good balls into the box. When it was looking like it'd been one of them days where an equaliser just wouldn't come, Tyler French popped in at the equaliser to flick as he popped up in the box to flick home from a few yards out following another dangerous corner and another Wadsku assist. The former Brackley man was causing carnage from set pieces since coming on for the second half, and at this point, with Harrogate desperately trying to hang on and Solihull looking to net a late winner, the home side won a free kick on the right half side of the goal. A powerful low effort hit Kieran McGuckin and somehow found its way into Metcalf's goal in the most fortunate of circumstances. The game was put out of reach in the 90th minute when McGuckin scored again, this time cutting in from the left before unleashing a wonderful curling effort into the reach beyond the reach of the goalkeeper. Rohan Vaughan then notched Harrogate's 5th goal on his debut to wrap up a thrilling game 5 minutes into injury time, having a thunderous right-footed effort well saved, before cutting back and placing it into the far corner on his left. I'm just going to quickly check that we are still recording before going into the National League North roundup. We appear to be, yes. That's great. I just realised I've got my mic for this, so we're just using my computer mic, but I think we're fine for it. So for the National League North, we're going to start with Buxton in their 2-1 win against Hereford. Now, it was Buxton's manager Jordan Broadbent's first competitive match in charge. And with arguably 4 first-choice defenders still absent after injury, Buxton had as many as 7 debutants, and apart from the time of the equaliser, never looked vulnerable as early on when the visiting striker Spokes should have scored from a clear chance. But Logan Stretch lived up to his name with a low dive and hold to thwart diagonal drive. Gradually, however, the host began to offer a threat, but at the quarter-way mark, Owen Devonport's promising pacey counter was ended by a Phillips foul, and in a Hereford attack, ex-Merthyr forward Cox fired from 19 yards but over the bar, and at the railway end in the 38th minute, Buxton took the lead in the most surprising fashion, with visiting an ex-Buxton keeper Theo Richardson failing to hold on to a fiercely struck Ashton Mee free kick, and quick as a flash for striker Sisa Tuntulwana tapped home. 3 minutes later, the scorer went to double his tally, but his 20 yards powerful effort curled over the far angle, while from a floated Kirby free kick. Kieran Burton's far post header lacked the sufficient power to beat Theo, and Buxton improved further after half-time, and within 5 minutes had added to their scoring prospect by introducing attacker Max Waltman in place of left-back Liam Brockbank. As the hosts relied on a back four, after Skinner headed over for the balls, the host made several unconverted chances. From a Kirby cross, Burton's overhead kick passed wide, and a flow move set up Caesar, but his shot was wayward. Then from a Connie Kirby free corner kick, and Devonport's clever header passed wide. After the loss of Kirby, Will Truman took over his role in midfield, and the Bucks continued to mount flowing attacks without real reward, though substitute Walkman looked an immediate threat. However, in the 78th minute, the visitors were highly fortunate to be not reduced to 9 men, as substitute and Cheltenham loanee Tustin was guilty of a reckless lunge on Truman, but from a side-on view seemed to have all the criteria necessary for a red card. But referee Vega contented himself with a yellow. Then, in a rare Bulls attack, a Burton foul on Tustin gave Skinner a 92nd minute opportunity to equalise from a penalty spot, and expertly he made no mistake, much to the delight of the hundreds of travelling fans. Yet Buxton redoubled their efforts, and in the 8th of 10 added minutes, an inspired Caesar diagonal attacking run set up a Voltman shot that was parried by Theo, only for Caesar to net the winner. In Macclesfield won 1-0 away to Marine, and becoming reaccustomed to the intensity of competitive league football was evident in the opening stages for both sides, with neither willing to give either side an inch in the initial phase. The hosts edged the possession statistics in the opening 10 minutes, with John Ustabasi required for defensive duties to block a free kick in the centre of a three-man wall early on. Appeals for a Silkman penalty followed soon after, with Adan George's cross appearing to strike the hand of Dec Drysdale as he leapt to block the delivery. Though referee Bilal Musa wasn't willing to entertain the calls. Drysdale was in a preventative action shortly after, blocking George once more, though this time going for goal, only for Luke Duffy's rebound to be denied in a similar fashion before the host launched a counter-attack. Led by a Jordan Hotkin, who attempted to lob Christian Dibble, who had ventured beyond his box to meet the clearance. Though was beaten to the ball by Hodkin, though did enough to prevent the striker from hitting the target from range. A break ensued not long after, with Luke Duffy briefly requiring treatment on a scorching August afternoon in Crosby. After a restart, both sides found it difficult once more to break in their usual strides, resulting in frustration boiling over as John Ustabasi and Isaac Banquar came to blows before the break, and each were shown a yellow card for their off-the-ball involvement with one another, with both teams looking to catch the other one out in order to make the difference. Dibbles attempted to kickstart a quick counter-attack, though almost too quickly for Adam George, who made ground rapidly, though was unable to meet a first-time cross from the left. Finn Shrimpton came closest to breaking the deadlock before the interval, bending a curling effort on the underside of the crossbar, which then bounced down onto the line, begging to be struck away by a matter of centimetres, though Marine rushed to clear at a vital stage of the afternoon. 3 minutes were added before the halfway point, in which neither side were able to capitalise on any further chances to inch ahead, resulting in the first half ending all square, with work to do for both Macclesfield and Marine. No changes were made at the break, with the action getting underway in a lively fashion, mostly via the Macclesfield flanks, who made it difficult for Marine to get back up to speed after a breather, requiring a clearance from Lincoln McFadden's low cut back cross. Conor McClellaney was the focal point for the host throughout the afternoon, trying his luck from range on more than one occasion, though was largely unsuccessful upon attempting to hit the target, particularly in the early stages of the second half. Marine captain Dec Drysdale was booked for a clumsy challenge on Finn Shrimpton just before the hour mark, with a man in the middle pulling the strings and Marine struggling to stop him. George Wilson was also cautioned for a late challenge for a foul in the process of a Marine attack, for which play was allowed to continue before Musa returned to book the central midfielder after a passage of play had come to the end. It was Wilson's midfield partner who got Macclesfield off and running, with just over 15 minutes left to play. He'd been a thorn in Marine's side all afternoon, troubling the back line throughout, and this time found a way through, initially seeing his attempt from a corner blocked before lashing home a rebound into the roof of the net. Elliot Osborne was replaced by Louis Lacey in the aftermath of Shrimpton's opener, proving to be what was the only change made by John Rooney all afternoon. The Silkmen almost grabbed a second before the afternoon came to a close, as Cameron Borthwick-Jackson stuck out a foot to divert George Wilson's dragged effort back towards the target, which saw Marine keeper Jack Barrett scrambling across his line to cover the impromptu effort, which flew narrowly wide of the far post with less than 10 minutes to go. 5 minutes before time, Marine manager Bobby Grant was giving his marching orders by the referee Musa, having impeded Amar Dyer as he attempted to take a throw next to the Marine dugout on a very narrow touchline. 4 minutes were added, within which Macclesfield would make sure of their first available 3 points with some fantastic game management, keeping Marine at bay to send the Silkmen faithful home happy. Chester ran out 2-1 winners away to Chorley, and a frantic early period was followed by a more controlled one for Phil Parkinson's first professional game for Chester, which culminated in a flowing move from Woods and Campbell, but neither could force a save from Lee Boer Stowell. The goalkeeper was beaten before the half-hour mark, though, as Michael Campbell fired a sublime effort past the shot stopper from outside the box. Sam Reed then looked to test Stowell from outside the area, but it flew comfortably over. Tom Pearce had the final opportunity of the opening period, but he struck over after a brilliant work from Campbell and Waters. The Seals started the second half strongly and almost doubled the lead through Dan Ward, who slammed wide from close range. Chorley pegged Phil Parkinson's men back for a moment of brilliance through Elliot Taylor, who fired a powerful half-volleyed effort over Luke Hertzen to level the scoreline. Jacob Hazel made an impact late on and had an opportunity within 10 minutes remaining, but he was closed down by Stowell after positive work by Ward. The defining moment in the contest arrived through the foot of Waters from close range. A brilliant long ball from Jake Griffin found Ward, who drilled a low ball across the 6-yard box, finding Waters, who scored his first goal for the club. Kofi Moore almost made it free as his effort struck the post in the 90th minute before the Seals held on for a memorable opening day victory. Works Uptown won 2-1 away to Darlington, with the Tigers starting the brightest, with Ollie Greaves getting the ball in a good position on the right. His cross was comfortable for keeper Bobby Jones. Works Up would get an opening goal as Mason O'Malley's cross bounced off a defender for Cian Harrott to tap in from close range on the 9th minute. Alex Starkenko attempted to double the lead after turning away from his marker, but his low shot dragged wide. The host's first opportunity came after a free kick, which was given away by captain Andrew Boyce, before Ellis Stanton hit his effort over the wall, but the handsome Max Durnley prevented it. Greaves had hit the next chance for the Tigers after Deegan Averton's long throw was cleared to him. However, his cold effort was just evaded the net. 3 minutes into the second half, the Quakers would equalise as a corner fell to Max Howells, whose volleys in from inside the box. The game being level wouldn't last long, however, as Works Up got a second, a quick counter-attack to Liam Waldock, finding Lewis Whittam in the box, who made no mistake with his finish. Forward Mark Beck was troubling this Works Up backline with his size, and he almost got another equaliser when he brought the ball down inside the box. But his shot was weak, and the final chance fell to substitute Ryan Viggers, who received the ball from Greaves before righting his effort of a side netting. Hebburn Town ran out 3-1 winners against Southport. Daniel Moore had some difficult selection decisions throughout the team, with 9 of the starting 11 having played part in the Northern Premier League title triumph last season. The exception being Elliot Forbes and Jake Charles, who made their first competitive starts for the club. Play got underway on a glorious afternoon on South Tyneside, with Hebburn kicking towards the Bob Tatton stand in their first ever Step 2 game. After a quiet first few opening minutes in terms of goalmouth action, the home side made a dream start in the 8th minute. Jake Charles won the ball deep into the Southport half, and as he closed in on goal, he squared to Matty Cornish to tap home into an empty net. After 19 minutes, a hopeful ball over the top found Liam Murray, who tried to head the ball down to set himself up for a right-footed effort. But his touch was too heavy, and the ball ran away for a goal kick. At the other end, Malachi McKenzie tried a speculative effort, which was on target, but resulted in an easy save for Isaac Allen in the Hebburn goal. At the midway stage in the first period, Sol Solomon went to ground claiming a penalty under a challenge from Joe Oliver. But referee Lewis Dawson waved the appeals away. In the 27th minute, Charles played the ball into Murray, whose effort was deflected and looped over the bar onto the top of the net, and 8 minutes later, a free kick was awarded to Hebburn. Just outside the Southport area, Ethan Wood stepped up and curled the ball into the area, but it sailed behind for a goal kick. On 38, Southport won a successive corners with Kyle Jameson coming closest when he headed over the bar from just 12 yards out. Soon after, at the other end, Charles struck the ball over the bar on his left foot from 30 yards. An effort that had Solomon Honour scrambling. Had it been 2 inches lower, it would have had him beaten. Mackenzie then tried his luck for the visitors from distance, but it was comfortably saved by Allen. With a couple of minutes remaining in the first half, Charles doubled the Hornets' lead with an instinctive left-footed finish across Honour, finding the far bottom corner. In the 51st minute, Kean Foreman was brought down on the halfway line, and the resultant free kick was cleared. With Teddy Lavelle going down with a head injury, 7 minutes later, Foreman continued to cause the Sandgrounders much trouble, as he was sent tumbling by Regan Griffiths, who received a yellow card for his troubles. On the hour mark, Southport reduced the deficit when Daniel Ogwuru headed home after Jordan Slew's effort had been deflected up in the air inside the Hebburn box. That meant a few nervy moments for the Hornets, where a free kick soon floated in by Sam Minihan, but his header was caught by Allen, who the referee judged to have not kept the ball in play and awarded a corner. On 78, Hebburn had the chance to seal victory when Josh Donaldson played a quick pass into Alfie Henderson, who returned the favour, but the former's efforts cleared the bar. A minute later, though, Donaldson managed to hold off his man before playing in Tom Allen, whose effort was just beyond the left-hand post. With 5 minutes left to play, Hebburn hearts were in mouths when Oliver challenged Christy Edwards, but again, despite the protest, Dawson waved play on. As the game entered the last minute of the 90, Donaldson wrapped the points up after some more neat play around the box before firing beyond honour into the bottom corner. Deep into stoppage time, Luke Griffiths attempted a long-range effort as Southport pushed for a consolation, but again it was straight at Allen in the Hebburn goal, with the Hornets able to keep their opponents at bay in the closing stages to secure the opening day victory. AFC Telford United fell to a 2-1 defeat at home to Brackley Town, with both teams having undergone a rebuild in the summer, and the Bucks had 4 debutants, with Lewis Benjamin in goal, Matt Curley in defence, and Jaden White and Louis Moult in the front three of a 4-3-3 formation. The new-look Bucks looked to the brighter side, as the half wore on, they began to dominate possession and created numerous scoring opportunities. Dylan Mitchell fired an early sighter over the bar from 25 yards, and the visitors were largely dependent on set pieces for their goal threat. The Bucks grew stronger in the 15 to 20 minutes after the hydration break before half-time, and Oren Pendley should have had at least tested Harrison Roan with his header when he was found from a free kick. Before the break, Louis Moult grazed the top of the crossbar with a shot on the run, moving onto Remy Walker's through ball and seeing Roan touch the ball over. There was also a crazy 10-second spell when the Bucks couldn't force the ball past Roan from a corner kick, with several players, notably Oliver Cawthorne, just a few yards out but unable to convert. After looking much hungrier than their Northamptonshire counterparts in the opening 45 minutes, the tables were turned when Kai Yearn lashed in the first goal. The Bucks weren't switched on in the restart moment, and the Yearn drove a ball unerringly past a rooted Benjamin right hand and off the inside of the post. That came in the 47th minute, and Telford sought a response, but Brackley delivered a quick 1-2, and after 55 minutes, debutant centre-half Josh Tomlinson funded a header from a corner, but Dylan Mitchell vainly tried to clear off the line. The goals rocked the Bucks back on their heels, and they did start to stage a response. However, Brackley's hunger, lacking in the first half, was evident. They defended solidly with Charlie Cooper as a stand-in centre-half after Will Armitage went off injured. And despite introducing his full complement of substitutes, Wilkin was left frustrated. Matt Stenson did head home at fellow substitute Sam McClintock's right-wing cross in the 5th of 6 added minutes, but it was only to be a consolation. Merthyr Town ran out 2-0 winners at home to Hensford Town. Jacob Maddox opened the scoring after 3 minutes, slotting the ball past Hornby following a driving run from Samuel Pearson. Not long after, Jack Evans shot narrowly wide, and the Pitman threatened to liven up 17 minutes in as Dale Gorman swept the ball to Aaron Jarvis, with a striker nodding his effort into the palms of Jamie Cogman. 10 minutes later, all eyes were on the referee as it looked like Jamie Cook was scythed down in the penalty area. After 32 minutes, Sam Hornby made a massive stop to deny Kane Simpson just before the break. The pitmen were caught cold, and Maddox doubled the deficit, lifting the ball over Hornby. Approaching the hour mark, David Abimbola, on his pitman debut, flicked on a headed effort over the crossbar. Hensford continued to pile the pressure on, and Dylan Motley Henry found Aaron Jarvis, with the forward unable to steer his close-range effort past Cogman. Not long after, Hornby was forced into another stop to prevent Anurin Livermore from grabbing a third. With just over 10 minutes remaining, the pitman had a number of chances in quick succession, as substitutes Will Merry and Jay Fitzmartin both went close. Kings Lynn Town drew 1-1 with Harbour Town. It was almost a lightning-fast start for the Linnets, as Jamari Lindsay's cross found Tom Scott in the box, who went for a spectacular flick towards goal, only to be denied by the post inside the opening 2 minutes. It was an end-to-end start in the opening 10 minutes, as Jesse Nwawazi went close for the Linnets again. He cut inside at pace and fired a ball towards the near post, but was denied by an excellent save from the keeper. Harbour were a constant threat going forward from set pieces, particularly from long throws and corners throughout the game, which looked like they could be a real problem for the Linnets in the early stages. And in the 13th minute, Harbour took the lead after a defensive mix-up saw the ball fall to O'Sullivan in space, who was able to blast the ball into the bottom right-hand corner to give the visitors a dream start. But Linnets looked to respond as Jamari Lindsay went close with a powerful effort from the edge of the area. However, his effort just went wide of the post. It was the visitors who had the best chance to double their lead, as Callum Powell found himself alone in the Kingsland box, only to be denied by a fantastic save from Ronnie Hollingshead as the Linnets went in behind at the break. The second half began with the visitors hammering the Linnets' defence with an onslaught of set pieces, causing a real problem for Hollingshead and his defenders, as the Linnets looked like they would need a bit of magic to rescue anything from the game. In the 55th minute, the Linnets got their equaliser, as Aaron Jones slipped Jesse Nwawazi through, who blasted the ball into the roof of the net to draw the Linnets back level. Momentum swung the Linnets' way as they looked to find a winner, with Kwame Thomas's spectacular overhead kick hitting the woodwork. Thomas went close again on a couple of occasions, while Tom Scott also came close to finding a winner. However, the points were ultimately shared in the end. Morecambe drew in a 1-1 draw against Spennymoor Town, and in the first half, Spennymoor looked threatening from the off and took the lead in the 8th minute. Richie Bennett, a former Shrimp himself, picked up the second ball from the corner and fired at goal. Liam Hogan got his head to it, but diverted it into the top corner, and Morecambe struggled to create any chances early on, as Spennymoor was solid and looked controlled off the ball. They should have doubled their lead in the 39th minute after Lewis Baines' slip allowed Robert Ramshaw to dive into the box and cross for Junior Mondle, but the ball was inches away from his boot. Morecambe's only effort on goal came in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, when Cameron Cox got his head on an Elliot Newby cross, but the ball hit Paul Lewis and went over the bar. The second half started much better for Morecambe, and it didn't take long for them to create their first chance of the half. Cox controlled a lovely cross from the Williams, but his shot was well saved by Zach Haddy. A minute later, and Morecambe were awarded a penalty after Isaac Buckley-Ricketts danced past his marker and was brought down. Matty Daly converted the penalty to score his first goal the first goal of the Morecambe National League North campaign. Buckley-Ricketts then went close himself in the 53rd minute, but couldn't direct Daly's cross into the box. They both linked up again in the 74th minute with some tidy one-touch play on the edge of the box, but Daly fired over. Buckley-Ricketts was nearly gifted the chance to give Morecambe the lead in the 81st minute after a poor back pass, but Haddy did well to collect the ball under pressure. It was then Spennymoor's turn to try and break the deadlock, with George Cantrell having a free header from the corner, but he put his effort just inches wide of the post. Morecambe came very close to winning the game late on as Newby's shot was heading towards the far corner, but Cantrell cleared the ball offline and the game finished 1-1. South Shields ran out 1-0 winners away to Scarborough Athletic, and the first chance fell for the hosts, who returned to the Scarborough Sports Village after spending last season in Bridlington after only 30 seconds, when Will Thornton tried an audacious lob from his own half, which narrowly missed the target. Sedwin Scott then played Finch through on goal a few minutes later, although the latter's shot failed to threaten goalkeeper Ryan Whiteley inside the box, and he caught it with ease. Dan Dodd suffered an injury early on and was replaced by Dylan Morse in the 10th minute, who made an immediate impact. A minute later, Finch broke the deadlock after he surged forward and got on the end of a Morse flick before he slotted the one-on-one comfortably into the net. Scott came close from a header near the goal mouth, but he was penalised by a foul in the build-up. 5 minutes later, before a break, newly appointed vice-captain Paul Blackett found Finch waiting near the penalty area, but the goalscorer hesitated and laid it off to Scott, whose efforts slammed against the crossbar. Blackett's follow-up went wide, and the game turned on its head after Marn's dismissal, which came as a result of a heavy challenge as Mo Federa raced towards goal. Momentum swung in the host's favour from that point on, and the supporters at the Scarborough Sports Village made their voices heard as the Sea Dogs pushed for an equaliser they felt were deserved. Sheik pulled off a wonder save deep into stoppage time as he stretched wide to deny Dom Tier, to perhaps everybody's bewilderment inside the ground. Rio Allen fired just over the crossbar with a minute to spare, and a nervy 8 minutes of additional time came to an end shortly after, with Shields victorious in their first competitive game. Oxford City won 1-0 at home to Bedford Town. A strong away following had made the relatively short trip to Marsh Lane and were full of enthusiasm, which was heightened after the Eagles made a positive start. They had Oxford pinned in their own half, but the only real opportunity that came out of it was a Greg Taylor snapshot from a set piece that was comfortably saved by John Maxted in the Oxford goal. The host then came into the game and Laurie Walker was forced into some useful saves. The first came after former Eagles striker Tyrone Marsh got his head to a free kick, first to flick on, and Walker, making his league debut, got down to his right to stop. The next two chances came through Oxford player coach Matt Taylor. Taylor first got on the end of a long ball, and having chosen not to come out, Walker did well to stop, with the attacker bearing down on him. A volleyed effort from Taylor then forced another good stop, with an even game approaching half-time. Bedford had the most presentable chance of the half as Eno Nutu used his burst of pace to get in behind on the right wing and then roll the ball into the path of George Moncur. It looked like Moncur had to score, and it definitely looked like the ball had taken a nick of the defender to be diverted over the top, but a goal kick was given. Minutes into the second half, and Moncur was threatening again, this time doing some good work to manufacture a shooting position, before unleashing a good strike from the edge of the box, which produced a camera save from Maxted. Minus a header from an unmarked Matt Taylor, which he managed to direct wide, the rest of the half passed by uneventfully until the Eagles had an extremely convincing penalty shout in the 75th minute. Junior Guayamthi got to the ball first in the box and was seemingly tripped by the Oxford defender, but the referee waved away the Eagles' appeals. Soon after, Oxford had the lead in a demonstration of fine margins that define this league, as Franchiletti rose above Lewis Franklin at the back post to put the ball past Walker, and after a Bedford clearance had not travelled the required distance. The closing stages saw the away side toil in search of an equaliser, but they grew increasingly frustrated as a succession of goal kicks allowed Oxford to wind the clock down towards full time. It was Oxford that had the best chance to add another goal as they struck the bar with a header, before Dylan De Silva fired over the volley. There was a sense of disappointment as the final whistle blew, as it was a game Bedford were very competitive in, and it felt as though the point each would have been the fairest outcome. Spalding United ran out 2-0 winners away to Radcliffe. The opening exchanges were evenly contested, with both sides enjoying spells of possession and creating half chances. However, neither team could finish for touching as the first half remained goalless. Spalding manufactured the first opportunity of the second half, doing well to deal with Radcliffe's long throw, but narrowly missed the boot of Brad Roscoe. Yusufu Cisse then drove down the right-hand side of the counter before curling a dangerous ball into the area. But Tom Davis was alert for danger and cleared the cross behind for a corner, which Radcliffe dealt with comfortably. On the 55th minute, the ball broke to Jack Roberts in space on the right. He managed to get a strike away, but Tom Donaghy was equal to the effort, getting down well to palm the ball away from danger. Moments later, Cisse drove at the left side of the Borough defence and managed to get beyond Michael Nottingham before delivering a teasing ball across the area. The cross flashed across the 6-yard box, with Roscoe attempting to stick out a foot and make a clearance. Unfortunately for the Radcliffe defender, the ball took a deflection and wrong-footed Donaghy, finding the back of the net to give the visitors the lead. With 20 minutes remaining, the Borough put together a promising attack and won a corner. A short set piece saw Danny Greenfield exchange passes with Michael Lafui before the latter delivered the ball but towards the back post. The ball went pinballed around the penalty area, with Radcliffe players appealing for a penalty, but the referee quickly waved away the claims, and Spalding eventually cleared their lines. Moments after the home side's corner, Tom Pugh found space and delivered a cross into the area, where Bart Cebulski had peeled away unmarked. The Polish striker met the ball with a header and directed it towards goal, but Donaghy produced another excellent save, throwing himself across his goal to palm the effort away. As the final 10 minutes approached, Radcliffe began committing more players forward in search of an equaliser, throwing bodies into the Spalding area. The visitors remained organised, however, repeatedly clearing the danger, and with just moments remaining, Cebulski rolled the ball across the edge of the area for a Spalding midfielder, whose effort appeared destined for the corner. Once again, though, Donaghy came to Radcliffe's rescue, getting a foot on the ball to keep Borough in the contest. 5 minutes of added time were indicated, but Spalding would have the final say in the dying embers, with Cebulski finding himself through one-on-one with Donaghy, and made no mistake this time, calmly placing the ball into bottom left corner to double the visitors' advantage and seal all 3 points. Going on to the National League South roundup, and it's Tonbridge Angels who won 4-0 away to Braintree Town. Dunn gave full debuts to no fewer than 8 players in a 4-3-3 shape, including new loan signing Hayden Bullis in midfield. With both the newly named captain and vice-captain Sam Corn and Jordan Thompson missing, the armband was handed to towering centre-back Alexis Beeden. An inconsequential first 10 minutes passed as both teams grappled to adjust to the savannah-like surface before a beautiful piece of skill from the hosts, Louis Johnson, bamboozled the Angels defender, but he dragged his shot just wide. That was as good as it got for Braintree as Angels took the lead on 15. The impressive Harry Gardner carved out a chance that Reynolds pounced to get there just ahead of townkeeper Riley Mitchell and directed the ball home from 6 yards. Angels made it 2-on-35 following a short corner between Bailey Akehurst and Gardner, who called the ball in. Reynolds' effort struck the bar and rebounded out with time standing still. Tanga produced a looping header, apparently only the second-headed goal of his career, which had Mitchell rooted to the spot, and the Angels fans behind the goal dancing with joy for a second time. Angels finished the half strongly and could have had a third when a pinpoint cross by Gardner had too much weight on it for Tanga to head home. Shortly afterwards, a brilliant break saw Ricky Corboa slide in Tanga, whose shot was saved by Mitchell, only to fall to the feet of Gardner, whose shot flashed wide. The high energy and tenacious Gardner picked up an unnecessary booking in the first half, and at half-time was replaced by the mercurial Bunmi Babajide, an ace in the pack, always likely to do the unexpected. And he quickly picked up an assist, playing in the on-rushing Tanga, who finished expertly past Mitchell for his second and the Angels' third. Shortly after, Reynolds was replaced by Frankie Baker as ruthless Angels continued to press. It was not until the hour mark when Nathan Harness was really called into action, when he dived low to his right to keep out a shot from Ruben Swan. Babajide, like a Las Vegas magician, keeping his audience guessing, then produced some trademark trickery to play in an off-balance Jaden Brown, who skied his shot. With 3 minutes left to play, Dunn brought on Brody Cockrell for Corboa, and the youngster would supply a sublime assist for Angels' fourth. Before that, Harness produced a spectacular save to deny the Iron a consolation, which would have been unjust on the excellent Angels back four of Harvey Lintott, Ethan Sutcliffe, Beeden and Akehurst. As 7 minutes of additional time ebbed away, Angels broke one final time, and it was now that Cockrell produced a peach of a ball to play in Baker, who still had a lot to do. The ex-Millwall man shrugged off the attentions of the defender. Drew Mitchell adjusted his body shape and finished coolly for the Angels' fourth, and a proverbial icing on the cake as the jubilant Angels fans celebrated in the hot Essex sunshine. Hemel Hempstead Town drew 1-1 with Chelmsford City, with David Agbontahoma firing in a long-range effort onto the roof of the net in the early stages for the Tudors. But the first half an hour of the season was otherwise short and noteworthy action. Denzel Olapade launched a powerful effort into the hands of Michael Johnson on 33 minutes, before the hosts wasted a 3-on-1 opportunity at the other end. Jake Tabor turning down the shot to instead find teammate Jesse F.A., but he slipped before he could get his effort away. It didn't take long for the Clarets to capitalise, and Mandelo Egber's whipped low cross from the right flank found Reece Brown, who made no mistake in scoring the opening goal of the 2026-27 campaign at Vauxhall Road. They almost doubled their lead in the second half, as Brown blazing just past the far post after a lightning-fast counter-attack from the guests. Brown saw a header saved before Tudor's captain Charlie Rowan directed his side at the other end as the hosts searched for an equaliser. They piled the pressure on, and after a series of corners, they were rewarded in the 9th minute of additional time. The set piece was fired towards Clarets keeper Marriott, and his fumble directed the ball into the back of the net, despite fierce protests from the guests to cue delirium from the home fans. Billericay Town ran out 2-0 winners at home to Dover Athletic. Dover were on the front foot almost immediately, winning a free kick in a dangerous position on the edge of the penalty area after just 2 minutes. Baptiste stepped up and was desperately unlucky not to open the scoring, crashing his effort against the crossbar. The visitors continued to threaten during an encouraging opening spell, and 2 minutes later, another Dover attack forced the Billericay goalkeeper to race outside his area and clear it with his feet. Before some nice link-up play around the box resulted in the Whites' first corner of the afternoon. Billericay took some time to settle in, but began to offer more of a threat as the half progressed. On 17 minutes, Long tried his luck from distance, with a deflection taking the ball beyond the hosts in first to give them their first corner. That set piece proved costly for Dover, as Benton sent the resulting delivery towards the back post, where Bond was waiting to volley emphatically beyond Walker and give Billericay an 18th minute lead. The hosts immediately went searching for a second, and Long broke down the flank and produced an inventive outside of a foot delivery into the box. But Rendell was well positioned to intervene, and the ball eventually found its way safely into Walker's hands. Dover looked for an immediate response and won another corner on 22 minutes, although the set piece came to nothing before players took to a hydration break in the warm Essex sunshine. The Whites continued to see plenty of ball without managing to find a finishing touch. Oyanuga tried his luck from the edge of the box just after the half-hour mark, slicing an effort which bound wide of the target. Corners and Rendell's long throws continued to provide Dover with opportunities to put the home defence under pressure, but Billericay dealt with everything and sent into their penalty area. And at the other end, Merrifield attempted to lift a pass into the Dover box on 38 minutes, but there was nobody there in blue to meet it. Sheriff then found space out wide shortly before the interval and won another Dover corner, while Rendell produced an important block from a low Billericay shot as the game entered 2 minutes of first half stoppage time. Dover therefore went into the break 1 goal behind, despite having enjoyed some promising spells during the opening 45 minutes. The Whites again looked to attack after the restart, and a good switch of play on 53 minutes released Baptiste down the wing, and his eventual cross was turned behind for a corner. However, it was from that Dover set piece that Billericay launched a dangerous counter-attack. Merrifield chased the length of the pitch to regain possession before combining with Benton to create a scoring opportunity for Watts, whose low effort was kept out by Walker. The Dover goalkeeper could do little a minute later as Billericay doubled their lead. Porter made an effective overlapping run to create a space before delivering into the area, where Merrifield finished strongly to make it 2-0 after 55 minutes. The hosts almost immediately added a third, and Dover were caught open again, and Billericay raced through a goal, only to see the resulting effort come back off the crossbar. LeBeau responded with a double substitution on 58 minutes, introducing Cisse and Bates in place of Ayanuga and Wilkinson. Fish followed shortly afterwards, replacing Wilson Braithwaite in the 65th minute, and made an immediate impression by driving forward with the ball. Bates looked to deliver into the penalty area at the end of a move, but his cross failed to find a teammate. A second hydration break followed on 70 minutes as Dover looked for a route back into the contest. Rendell was shown the game's first yellow card 7 minutes later, while the Whites continued to probe as the match entered its closing stages, but were unable to find a way through the well-organised Billericay defence. Former Doverman Odelusi came close to making his appearance marking his appearance against his old club, with a goal in the 86th minute, sending a powerful effort narrowly wide. Oh. Tell you what, it's warm today. AFC Towton ran out 1-0 winners away to Farnham Town, with Towton starting brightly and had the first opportunity after just 3 minutes when Ward worked space on the edge of the area, but his effort was always rising and sailed over the crossbar. Farnham threatened minutes later when Bingham beat the offside trap and raced for a goal, but goalkeeper Ryan Gosney was quick off his line to meet him and clear the danger. The Stags continued to apply pressure, with Craig Tanner's set-piece delivery causing problems. His 9th minute corner found Reese Fleet at the near post, but the Stags' new boy was unable to make clean contact and the ball went behind. Towton were awarded a penalty in the 13th minute after Sol Wanjor Smith was bundled over inside the area. Tony Lee stepped up from 12 yards, but a Farnham goalkeeper guessed correctly, diving to his left to keep out the spot kick and keep the things level. The Stags continued to create chances, and another Tanner corner was worked short to Deck Rose, whose cross fell kindly for Ward, but the midfielder could only fire over. Tanner then almost caught the Farnham goalkeeper out with a cross-come shot, which required a fingertip save to turn it over the crossbar. Farnham looked dangerous on the counter-attack and briefly threatened, when they broke forward in a 3-on-2 situation, but Bingham scuffed his effort and Gosney was able to gather comfortably. Towton immediately went back on the offensive, with Ralph Vigouras sending a cross into the box, which Lee headed narrowly over. Seconds later, Ward went close again, his effort skimming the crossbar on its way over. Ward was heavily involved once more late in the half, setting Tanner away to deliver another dangerous cross, but the ball just evaded both Lee and Vigouras in the inside of the area. Despite their dominance and attacking intent, the Stags were unable to find the breakthrough before the interval. Farnham began the second half with an early chance, firing narrowly wide before Towton regained control of proceedings. In the 53rd minute, Charlie Betts launched a long throw into the Farnham penalty area, with Wanjor Smith getting his head to the ball and forcing the goalkeeper into a scramble to push the effort wide. Gosney was called into action at the other end shortly afterwards, making a save from Holzman's header. Farnham had another opportunity on the counter as they broke down the right and delivered the ball across to Sanders, but the forward was unable to take advantage. Towton continued to search for the opening goal, and Ward came close to providing it in the 66th minute when he produced a superb cross towards Lee. The forward was unable to get his feet sorted in time, however, and the ball flashed across the face of the goal. The breakthrough finally arrived 7 minutes later, and it was worth the wait. With the ball breaking awkwardly towards Ward, the midfielder showed tremendous composure and skill to spin on the sixpence before unleashing a unstoppable strike into the Farnham net. It was a sensational piece of individual quality from Ward, giving the Farnham goalkeeper no chance and sending the travelling Stag supporters into celebration. Farnham attempted to respond but struggled to seriously threaten the Towton goal. Rose fired a free kick over from distance in the closing stages, while the hosts continued to try their luck from range without troubling Gosney. Folkestone Invicta ran out 5-1 winners against Hawton and Hersham. The Swans had a rude awakening to life in the National League South. Unlike their hosts and fellow newcomers, the Isthmian Premier League champions got off to a dream start. And on their first visit to the Kent side in over 10 years, a Swans side fielding 10 players making their debuts, with only Lucas Defise remaining from last season's squad, was punished for naive defending. The fact that the home side central defender and captain Kevin Loco was able to score a hat-trick, all far post headers from left side crosses, tells its own story and highlights a problem for new manager Kevin James that he will need to solve. The Swans were under pressure straight away, and Tommy Reid had to beat the ball away at his near post following a left-sided cross, and the debutant goalkeeper then blocking a follow-up shot from Joe Pigott. The Swans then soon had an opportunity when J. Tucker was found midway in his own half, but following the free kick, Dixon was closed out in the box. Toby Bower got in a good cross after being found on the left, and Dixon was again denied at the far post, winning a corner to the right. Matascana and Tucker played in the kick short, leading to Dixon having a shot blocked in the box. Swans fell behind just 8 minutes in, however, when Folkestone forced a corner on the left. The kick was played short, and when the ball was crossed to the far post, Loco got above Cedil Torre to header into the top right corner. Skarna's run on the right led to the ball being put behind for another corner for the Swans, but from Skarna's kick, a header was put wide at the far post. Folkestone won another corner on their own on the right, and Reid had to punch away a looping header, a follow-up being blocked in the box. Skarna had a strong start from just outside the box, blocked by the Swans, but they went 2-0 down after 24 minutes as Woolwich Woodyard won the ball off Hassan Ibrahim inside the Swans half and set up Aaron Cosgrave just inside the box to force a good save from Reid. But the Invicta player was able to follow up and score. Tucker was just closed out on the edge of the box following a good move for the Swans, but a free kick was conceded to the home side out on the left touchline by Torre, who picked up the game's first yellow card. From the kick, a header was put over, and Swans put together their best build-up play so far. But Dixon was again closed out in the box. After 39 minutes, however, Wharton and Hersham went 3-0 down to a free goal. Marcus Sablier passed back to some German on the front edge of the centre circle. And when Swans captain tried to clear the ball, it struck Pigott. And a read on the edge of his box, it rolled agonisingly past the Swans goalkeeper and into an open goal. Another good build-up by Walton Hersham led to Skarna laying the ball from the right to Defise, who made a start run turn in the box. But his low left-shotted effort lacked power, and the home keeper, Ted Collins, made a comfortable save. Ibrahim then found Tucker on the left, and his lay inside found Sablier on the edge of the box, but a good low strike was just wide of the right post. In added time, Folkestone got in on the left, and the low ball in was cleared away for a throw-in on the right. The throw-in was delivered long, and the ball was headed behind for another corner on the right. There was still time left for Skarna to make a terrific run on the right byline for the Swans, but Sablier just failed to get on the end of the cross in the 6-yard box. The home side attacked straight after resumption, and Donald Thomas was played clear to force a good save from Reid. A corner was soon won on the left, and from the free on the kick ball was driven against the far post. A follow-up shot from Pigott was blocked, and another from Loco was deflected over for another corner on the left. Reid had made a good punch away from the kick, but Thomas was able to find Harvey Kedwell on the left, and he delivered a superb cross to the far post for Loco to power header home and make it 4-0. Bower did well on the edge of the box for the Swans, but his low shot lacked power and was wide of the left post. Folkestone continued to threaten, however, winning another corner on the left, and following a long throw from Dan Quick, they forced a good save from Reid on at his near post with a close shot. Dixon was played into the box for the Swans, but he took too long to get in a shot, and it was blocked. With an hour played, the home side won another left-sided corner, and with the ball headed away, Kedwell crossed to the far post for Loco to loop a header just over. Some excellent play by Tucker for the Swans led to him playing Dixon through to the left corner of the 6-yard box, but he shot wide of the near post. With 64 minutes played, Swans got on the score sheet. Determined play by Skarna on the right took him past Loco, and after driving into the box, he set up Dixon to slot home. The Swans had hit a good spell, and more terrific play by Skarna in the right of the box led to him laying across to Dixon, but he poked the ball wide of the near post. The first changes were then made with Lawrence Ernest and David Gokuru are coming in for Bauer and Defease. Gokuru drove a shot over after some clever play in the left of the box, and after Ibrahim had picked up Swan's second yellow card, Anis Noor came on for Sablia. With the match entering the final 5 minutes, Dixon almost got Goku in, but he couldn't control the ball. And Tucker brought a save from the keeper with a low left foot shot after a neat back heel from Dixon set him up in the box. Keeper Collins did well to come out to the right corner of his box to head away and prevent Dixon from getting in on the end of Toby Omole's long ball. And Tucker was able to follow up and shoot just wide of a right post from 5 yards outside the box. Deep into added time, however, Folkestone won another corner left, and that man Loco was again at the far post to head home for his hat-trick. Oh. Dagenham and Redbridge ran out 1-0 winners over Dorking Wanderers. The visitors have had a busy window with the arrival of new manager Lee Allinson and a host of fresh faces in the Daggers dressing room. It set up an exciting curtain raiser on the opening weekend of the National League South season, and it took only 2 minutes for visitors to deal the first blow of the afternoon. Caden Harrack was afforded too much space from 25 yards out from goal, and he was able to tee up an effort from distance, which with a marginal deflection of Harry Buterman was able to drill its way past Glenn Morris. Dorking began to put the opening minutes aside and had their first real sight of goal on 10 minutes into the proceedings, with James McShane able to poke the ball through to Harry Forster, who charged down the left flank. The latter was able to cut inside and bend a shot towards goal, which flew just over the crossbar. Just 5 minutes later, some more expert build-up play led to another Wanderers chance as Frank Vincent delivered the ball to Alfie Rutherford, whose flick teed up McShane to hit on the volley from the edge. Again, the effort fell just wide of the target. There was one-way traffic as far as the Wanderers were concerned as the half began to finish. Dan Pybus found his way into the penalty area, and he was able to unleash an effort on target, only to be met by Nathan Ashmore at the near post, before Josh Barrett had 2 efforts blocked by a fearless Daggers back line. In stoppage time, Dagenham came close to having a dream end to the first period, as both Kane Critchlow and Harry Buterman were able to have snapshots from close range. However, neither were able to add to the killer blow to Wanderers as the referee drew a close to the first half. Dorking started the second 45 as they finished the first, asserting pressure on the visitors. Jack Wood found space down the left and drove a low cross into the box, which met Harry Forster sliding in at the near post. However, he was unable to turn the ball home. Not long after this, the Daggers' life was made even harder after an off-the-ball incident between Louis Anelsley and Andy Carroll saw the former Newcastle and Reading striker lash out at the Wanderers centre-half, resulting in a red card and a dismissal for the Daggers' frontman. The extra man advantage was playing in its part in the host's upkeep of the pressure. The 2 early second-half substitutes combined when Denon Lewis floated an inch-perfect ball to the head of Nikaj, who was unable to steer the header on target. The best Dagenham chance of the second half was created by Archie Tamplin, who was able to skip his way through the red and white shirts on the left-hand side. He fired a shot from a tight angle, however, the chance sailed across the face of the goal, not troubling Glenn Morris between the sticks. Heading into injury time, Lewis and Nikaj were able to combine once more, and the winger's fierce delivery was met by the header of Nikaj, who could only see his header sail over the crossbar. Moments later, with minutes to play, Charlie Sayers swung in an identical cross to George Frankham. However, he also steered his header inches over. Farnborough beat Mason United 2-1 in their game as Mason started brightly, but it wasn't long before Borough created the first chance. Leo Hamblin's attempted clearance was cut out and worked into the box. Lenny Holden made an attempt to deny Tyler Frost, and then from the rebound, Frankie Havid made an important block. Hamblin then paid a ball forward quickly, and Leon Gravata raced onto it and ran into the box. He saw an opportunity to go for goal, but his effort was comfortably stopped by Lucas Thomas. On 29 minutes, Alex Whittle's shot deflected off George Fowler, and Holden had to be alert to make the save. Then 5 minutes later, Farnborough should have taken the lead. As Hamblin lost possession and Frost found Michael Reindorf, who was denied by Holden, and with a goal at his mercy, Frost fired a ball against the base of the right post. But 2 minutes into stoppage time, Borough broke the deadlock. Sam Barrett's cross from the right was met by the unmarked Mason Bloomfield, who headed into the net. It wasn't long after the restart that the visitors doubled their lead. Sam McCoy played the ball into Michael Reindorf, and he confidently stroked the ball into the middle of the goal. Then, with 68 minutes played, Maidstone got back into the game. Substitute Nana Boateng was brought down in what turned out to be his last action, as he had to be replaced by Jaden Davis, and Riley Court played the resultant free kick into the box. Avid headed the ball down, and Ken Charles slid in to poke the ball over the line. Maidstone then went close to an equaliser, as Court's corner was met by Havid, and Lucas Thomas scooped it away from the line, and from the follow-up. Substitute Jaden Harris was denied by another excellent save from Thomas. 3 minutes into stoppage time, Gravata was brought down close to the edge of the area by Barrett, and Court's free kick was destined for the top right-hand corner for the net. But the Thomas made a fine save to claw it behind for an opener. Torquay United drew 1-1 with Horsham. As expected, the home side started with some real gusto. New signing Isaac Westendorf had Torquay's first chance inside the opening 3 minutes, as he set a shot over the bar from around the penalty spot. After that, Horsham settled into the game, although United retained the lion's share of possession and pressure. The breakthrough came though on 13 minutes for the goals, with Dion Moore's deflected cross to the near post somehow making its way past the away team's keeper, Sam Howells. Horsham managed to stabilise things after conceding, taking up one Torquay adventure forward after another, with United unable to carve out any real chances. Equally, the Hornets weren't able to launch a real meaningful offensive of their own. The game became scrappy as the minutes ticked by, and the number of yellow cards in the opening half of 6 in total was probably the most notable thing other than the goal. Westendorf was booked for catching Howells when chasing down the ball in space, while his skipper Matt Worthington also received a yellow for a foul on his own. Horsham's Lee Harding picked up his side's first booking with a tackle that looked fair, sparking a big reaction from a large Plainmoor crowd, and leading to the Hornets, Charlie Hester Cook and Gulls scorer Moore squaring up to each other, for which both were also booked. Jake Wannell rounded off the first 45 minutes by becoming Torquay's fourth player of the game to go into the referee's book again for a foul. There were no changes from either manager during the break, and the pattern of play also remained the same at the start of the second half. Torquay had a series of chances. They won an early corner that almost found at Sam Dreyer at the back post, and Westendorf had a header which was easily gathered by Horsham keeper Howells. Plus, Sonny Blue Low Everton had an unsuccessful volley on goal from 20 yards. On 54 minutes, it was Horsham who got the second goal of the game. Greg Luer's diagonal shot evaded United stopper Toby Savin. Savin, like his opposition counterpart before the break, really should have done a lot better. Credit to Jamie Yealer in creating a chance for his teammate with a strong run down the left for the Hornets. Torquay gaffer Jimmy Ball immediately made 2 changes, taking off wide midfielders Low Everton and Harry Shield, and sending Dylan Morgan into midfield and Callum Morton up front. 3/4 of the way through the match, the Gulls thought they had taken the lead for a second time. However, the ball was ruled to be out of play as it was crossed by Don Bernard into Westendorf, who headed it home into the net. Shortly after, a powerful Yealer shot was parried by Toby Savin, with Horsham substitute Ronan Silva unable to put the rebound away. As the clock ticked down to full time, the visitors looked the more confident side. Gulls boss Ball responded by sending on some more fresh legs in attack, as Cody Cook, who had over 20 goals in the 60-plus Torquay appearances, replaced the lively and physical Westendorf. Ball's opposite number, Dom Di Paola, switched out Jack Brivio, who had picked up a knock, for Jake Elliott in the back line. Plus, Rhys Miles McKeams was sent on for the Yealer to maintain attacking energy on the left wing. The closing stages included 8 minutes of added time and saw plenty of endeavour from both teams, but no moments of magic. At the final whistle, the 145 travelling fans celebrated, as home supporters will probably be wanting to see more from their team, who have been hotly tipped to earn promotion this season. Weston-super-Mare ran out 3-0 winners against Cheshire United. Ash started the game strongly, down inside the area when looking to cut inside under pressure, but the referee told the Western number 14 to get up on his feet. The Seagulls were to take the lead early on when the lively Dan Martin brought a ball down on the left and delivered an exceptional cross for the arriving Jacob Jagger Kane, who powered a header inside Ben Good's near post from 6 yards for Weston's opening goal of the season. Following the opener, Chesham began to see more of the ball following Weston's spell of pressure early on. Callum Adabiyi saw a shot deflected wide by a flying Avery inside the area after shrugging off Martin to receive a short corner, before Alfie Williams drove into the area and saw his attempt deflected behind for a corner when letting fly. Harris was then called into action for the first time, holding a low Jaden Bennett's shot from 25 yards when Chesham's number 10 has afforded room to shot. Harris then had to hold a glancing header from Williams 6 yards out when Alex Loeffler was afforded a chance to cross from the left-hand side, as Weston continued to defend resolutely. Liam Sercombe then had a chance before half-time interval, and his header from an angle at the back post followed another Martin delivery being caught by Good. Lafleur had the first chance of the second half, a 18-yard free kick hitting the bar and bouncing over the Thatcher's stand. Hulbert then had Weston's first chance of the second half, his glancing header from 12 yards when attacking a hanging Sercombe cross bounced wide off the far post. Hulbert then headed wide of a Martin free kick at the back post, while down the other end, a sidewinder volley from Connor Roberts floated wide of Harris's goal from 20 yards. The Seagulls were to double their advantage when a long kick forward from Harris was flicked on by Britton, occupying 2 defenders. His nod forward found the superb run of debutant Louis Derrick, who made a break into the box one-on-one and slotted past Good with a subtle substitute Hisham Kasimu, with a subtle toe poke to score his first goal in senior football. As Chesham looked to make their way back into the game, the substitute Hisham Kasimu drove over the bar inside the area before Ollie Yeedy fired wide of the target from 25 yards. Visiting substitute Craig Fasson-Melde then fired over from inside the box when getting a sight on goal. With their final attack, Weston's number 9, Britton, wasn't to be kept quiet, as he scored with pretty much the final kick of the game. A great pass over the top from Derek was brought down by Louis inside the area as he fired in past Good to make it 3-0. Salisbury ran out 5-0 winners over Hampton and Richmond Borough. It was the home side that had the first threatening chance of the half as Bartolo put in a low cross into the box for Robbie Gallagher, but it was eventually blocked by the visitors. Both sides tussled for the opening goal at the Ray Mac, with the game increasingly looking like an even contest at the half-hour mark. However, Nathan Odokoyonyaro opened the scoring for the Whites in the 33rd minute after the striker received a pass from Gallagher in the box and put away a real poacher's finish into the bottom corner. After not much separating the two sides in the first 45 minutes, Salisbury came out on the half-time break firing. A cluster of 4 chances in 4 minutes for striking duo Odokoyonyaro and Bartolo almost doubled the Whites' advantage early on. But the Raymac crowd didn't have to wait long for another, as Gallagher once again provided an assist on the counter as he passed a brilliant ball forward to find Bartolo in acres of space, who took 3 touches and shot across goal to double the Whites' advantage. With Brian Dutton's men seemingly in complete control of proceedings, a double change was made with 20 minutes to go as goalscorer Odokoyonyaro and Jordan Alonge made way for Kane Bradbury and Josh Hedges. After the changes, the third goal of the afternoon closely followed. Robbie Gallagher battled tenaciously on the edge of the box, got the ball to Hedges, who skipped past 2 men in the box to square across to Bartolo for his brace. After what was already a tremendous performance shown by Salisbury, they still didn't look like slowing down, as the ball was in the net again for the fourth time of the afternoon by Jayden Bartolo to complete his hat-trick and steal the headlines. Again squared across the face of the goal by the tricky Josh Hedges. Once the Beavers were left stunned by an incredible effort from Salisbury, Hedges put the cherry on top with a finish to make it 5-0 in the 6th minute of additional time and wrap a superb first league game for the Whites. In the last one of the National League South, Truro City ran out 2-0 winners over Maidenhead United. In front of a typically passionate TCS crowd, City raced from the traps and completely overwhelmed the beleaguered away side during the early exchanges. Firstly, defender Miles Welch-Hayes headed a Christian Oxlade-Chamberlain long throw onto his own crossbar, and the goal frame was rattled against as Harvey struck the ball with purpose inside the penalty area. City set pieces were causing Maidenhead all sorts of problems, and Jack Stretton was the next to almost break the deadlock. But he couldn't find the target, again from near to Van Stappershoff. The pressure finally told in the 25th minute when Van Stappershoff fumbled almost onto the bootlaces of Harvey, who couldn't miss. And one became two just after the half-hour mark when Luke Jeffcott's in-swinging corner wasn't dealt with, and Will Dean repeated Harvey's earlier goal. Truro looked like scoring every time they went forward, and Oxlade-Chamberlain was destined an early goal of the season contender by a last-ditch tackle and an amazing run forward from the halfway line. As the interval approached, Riley Lowe arrived at the back post, but could only side foot wide, and if that had gone in, it would have been game over. But Maidenhead, after a tactical switch at half-time to put on another striker in the shade of Alfie Pendlebury, did improve. A cross from rangy midfielder Joshua Johnson was turned home by leading scorer from last term Josh Romero, but referee Will Byers ruled handball against the Magpies forward. He then went close again shortly after, but Stones saved well, and after seemingly weathering the storm, the game was even, with City looking comfortable at the back. They did have one further scare 20 minutes from time when visiting captain Josh Coley's free kick was plucked away by Stone, but City from that point on managed to get the game superbly, and Harvey from a tight angle almost put the icing on City's cake in stoppage time, with Van Stappershoff beaten. Into the Northern Premier League roundup, we're probably getting a fair bit now. It is a long one today because of the amount of action that there's been. As Ashton United ran out 4-1 winners over Lancaster City. After sustaining a brief early period of Ashton pressure, the Dollies worked their way on top. Dylan Moonen came so close to heading Lancaster in front on 10 minutes, with Ashton goalkeeper Tommy Taylor forcing his effort inches wide from close range. The Robins responded well, though, with a volley from Al Byrne dipping just over the crossbar. Cameron Graham then made a fantastic save to push a fierce free kick from Kurt Willoughby over the bar. Lancaster managed to get themselves back up the field on break and got the perfect reward. Joe Amerson won the ball back before whipping a beautiful cross into the danger area. It was met by Sakoba Sonogo, who opened the Dollies account for the 2026-27 season. The home side drew level 10 minutes before the break as a stunning strike from Reece Kendall found the far corner. Ashton United meant business as they came out for the second half, as a quick fire set piece double from centre-back partnership Nathan Akome and Dylan Kogel meant the Dollies had to fight back from a 2-goal deficit. They went the right way about it when Sonogo was dragged down in the penalty area after getting past his man. However, Evangelinos' spot kick was beaten away by Taylor. The home side then went straight up at the other end and put daylight between the two sides after an emphatic finish from Danny Turner. Cleethorpes Town won 2-0 over Bamber Bridge. As Cleethorpes started the season with 3 points at home to Bamber Bridge, the host started brightly and the lively Joe Ackroyd came close to opening the scoring 5 minutes in. However, it was blocked by a defender. The Owls kept the majority of the possession and chances, and the deadlock was broken just before half-time. Against his former club, Lewis Hay finished off a great move with the left winger bending the ball into the top corner of the net from just inside the penalty box. In added time of the first half, Cleethorpes had the ball in the back of the net through Callum Ainsley, but was disallowed due to the obstruction of the goalkeeper Goodness Gospel Eze. Bamber Bridge came out much better in the second half, making the game relatively even. However, the visitors only registered their first shot on target 67 minutes in. It was fired straight at Ollie Battersby for a routine save. Shortly afterwards, the game was put beyond doubt as an in-swinging corner from the right was powered home by the airborne James Blunden. Devon Brokey then almost made it free twice by twice hitting the woodwork for Cleethorpes, and Jamie Allen had a decent attempt for the visiting side. Curzon Ashton won out 1-0 winners against Alfreton Town, with Nash starting positively, with the early chances falling to Tony Weston and Alex Curran, but they were well defended. Alfreton responded well, and Sia Ligenza, close-range effort, forced a strong save from Aidan Dowling, before Marcus Poschka produced an important block to prevent Alfreton from opening the scoring. In the dying minutes of the half, Nash came close to breaking the deadlock, with Curran and Danny Whitehead both striking the woodwork, seeing the sides heading into half-time 0-0. Nash started the second half on the front foot, with half chances falling to Curran and Weston, as Curzon looked to find a breakthrough. Alfreton threatened at the other end with an effort striking the crossbar, and the deadlock was then broken on 64 minutes through Roberts, earning his first league goal with a Nash, when he broke through on Alfreton's backline to slot the ball into the back of the net. But Nash continued to attack with a huge chance falling to the feet of Weston, but the ball was cleared off the line by Alfreton. Curran then came close to doubling the lead, but his close-range effort was just wide of the post. Subawale struck the crossbar on 73 minutes, with further chances falling to Weston and Roberts. Avro won 2-1 against Quorn, and not long into the match, the visitors almost took the lead, but the brand new goalkeeper, John Ander Villa-Robinson, managed to stop the attack, stop the shot, to keep the game level. He wasn't done there, as he had to quickly get to the other side of the net to stop the ball from bouncing over the line from his initial save, and he got there just in time, once again stopping the visitors from taking the lead. Around the 15th minute mark, the ball was played over the top of a defence for Harry Salt, who attempted to lob the keeper as he was off his line. Despite the decent attempt, Salt's shot was saved by Jake Williams. In the 25th minute, Quorn took advantage of Avro, applying for a foul on Riley Smith. They worked the ball down the left-hand side of the box before cutting in for Ethan Bojang. Bojang converted his shot and put the visitors ahead. After the goal, Harry Salt almost got the equaliser for Avro, as he got on at the end of another ball over the top of the defence, and once again attempted to lob the corner keeper Jake Williams. Salt's shot didn't hit the back of the net, but instead went out for a goal kick. The second half goal started with a bang, as Quorn almost doubled their lead after Bojang was given a free kick to have a shot on the goal. But in the moments before he shot, two of Avro's defenders slid in and blocked him. A few minutes later, Harry Salt almost got Avro their equaliser, as the ball was played through the defence, where Salt managed to get on the end of it and volleyed it towards the net. But his shot was barely off target, but it caused enough issues for the Quorn keeper to dive for it. Around the 60th minute mark, Jack Atkinson received the ball on the edge of the Methodist box. He took a touch and fired the ball straight towards the bottom right corner of the net. His shot caught the visitors off guard, including the keeper, who didn't even make an attempt to save his shot, and watched it hit the net for Avro's equaliser. In the 74th minute, Avro substitute Benito Lowe was taken down in the box by Quorn's defence and won a penalty. Up steps David Fitzpatrick, who calmly slotted the ball into the bottom left corner to send Avro in the lead, which they upheld for the rest of the match, and to earn the 3 points and start their league campaign off with a bang. Gainsborough Trinity ran out 2-0 winners over Workington. Trinity started the game brightly, with Williams seeing a shot charged down after the ball sat kindly from in the box. 12 minutes in, though, Gainsborough's defence rear guard swung into action. Kai Nugent looked for Luke Hunter, but the combined bodies of Beeden, Leckie and Robson saw the ball deflected up and over the bar through the corner. Robson claimed the corner at the high at his far post. Roving forward from the right back, Harvey Sutcliffe swung the ball in from the right, with Lewis Buttroyd primed. The ball was eased away from his furrowed brow, and Preston twice went close to opening the scoring for the home side. The first side shooting narrowly wide after a good move down the left. Soon after, Alex Mitchell was forced into a full-length save to keep the score goalless. Jordan Helliwell was covering every inch of the North Holm playing surface and showing some real quality on the ball too. Spraying the ball out to Sutcliffe, the former Leeds United Academy graduate tested Mitchell, equally involved at the other end, and Sutcliffe cleared over his own bar as Hunter squared across the face of goal. Visiting captain Matt Douglas met the resulting corner, but he was unable to generate the power behind his effort, with Robson scooping up the danger. Preston's second attempt came in as the final moments of the half, as George Hornshaw did well to fall on a loose ball. And when he was shoved to the ground, referee Ethan Lundy awarded the Blues a free kick. Preston took it and saw his free kick tipped over the bar by a full-length Alex Mitchell. In the Workington goal, Harrison Beeden and Jack Leckie coped well with a fretted Luke Hunter, whilst the fullbacks did well to cope with the intent of Kai Nugent and Jake Allen. 5 minutes into the second half, Javal Clark showed good strength to wrestle possession back of the ball, before looking to feed Williams Mitchell, who was quickly off his line. As Williams hesitated momentarily, Dickinson of Workington was winding up some huge throws into the Trinity box. Ash Jackson diverted one behind for a corner, and Jamie Allen swung in the set piece, which Luke Hunter met, but he planted the header wide of the near post. Robson was commanding his box well, and his quick release of Jackson down the left saw the experienced fullback look long for Williams. There were glimpses that something was starting to stir for the Blues. With a quick Preston free kick, saw Helliwell burst into the box. He squared a goal across the 6-yard box, but was well gathered by Alex Mitchell. Yet the big turnaround occurred within 19 minutes of the game remaining. Russ Wilcox making what would turn out to be an inspired substitution, replacing Clark with Ashton Offler, the former Michelova and Matlock man, and he was thrust into an attacking role. And less than 2 minutes into his cameo, he opened the scoring. Mitchell was the busier of the two keepers, but there was nothing he could do to keep out Offler's towering back post header. Following Offler's introduction, Williams was shifted out to the right, and immediately he was more involved in the action. Driving at his fullback, the former Kings Lynn man delivered a wicked ball on a run, picking out the late run of Offler, who crashed his towering header home off the underside of a bar. Moments later, Mitchell was at his best to deny Leckie from close range, and Jackson saw his looping header tipped over the bar. And another header, this time from Leckie, looped onto the roof of the net. There was nothing Mitchell could do when Fraser Preston caressed home a delicate finish after a flowing move. Williams again the outlet down the right for Trinity, and he found skipper Lewis Buttroyd, who instead of shooting deftly rolled the ball into the path of Preston, who made the game safe. As Workington looked for a way back into the game, David Robson took the pressure off the back line with a good command of his box, as Trinity secured an opening day victory in the Lincolnshire Sunshine. Redcar Athletic drew 0-0 with Bury, as 1,417 fans watched Redcar Athletic's first game in the Northern Premier League Premier Division, who started the game strongly, with Louis Johnson getting a decent chance within the opening minute, though Bury were able to deal with it. Louis again had a chance minutes after, but decent defending stopped him once more. Up the other end, a Bury attack was halted by a Danny Rowe clearance, with the second attempt eventually becoming a goal kick. The first half continued with end-to-end action, with the opening half hour seeing a flurry of chances, though the main highlight came in the 25th minute, as Bury looked to attack. Lewis Hawkins produced a crunching challenge to halt the Shakers' opportunity. What followed was a load of pushing and shoving from both sets of players as tempered flares, and the end of the scrap saw Danny Rowe and Hawkins booked, alongside Louis White for Bury. Then another booking for Bury as DJ Pedro received a booking a few minutes later, as he prevented Danny Lay from taking a free kick. Louis Johnson got another attempt, though the opponent's goalkeeper gathered it, and the end of the half saw two brilliant stops by Maz Furry to keep Bury at bay. The latter of those two shots saw him push behind a swerving effort, and the half-time whistle promptly followed, marking the end to an energetic opening 45. The second half saw Bury come out flying as they immediately began to test Redcar's defence, with chance after chance. More corners came and went for the visitors, but none were put past Masfery, and the game was kept goalless. Redcar hadn't stopped attacking though, with a near chance coming for the Steelmen in the 55th minute, as Adam Boyes got a shot off that was stopped by Mitch Allen's feet, with his save coming off of Bury's defender's header before the looping just past the post and out for a corner. Up the other end, the save of the match was produced by Masfery, as a quick Bury break saw them sweep the ball up into the box, and the drilled attempt was expertly turned behind by Josh. Redcar proceeded to make some changes, with the first seeing Luke Spalding come on for Connor Smith. It was a change that looked to make a difference, as almost immediately Luke was involved in their attack, as he whipped a belt of a ball into the box and was narrowly headed over by Louis Johnson. Berry had chances but was stopped by Red close defence, with a great challenge from Kieran Banks in the 65th minute, halting another Berry attack. Luke Spalding garnered another chance following a pass from Bosch, though his attempt was pushed away by Allen. And Luke then had another shot 2 minutes later, though this one was blocked even sooner than the prior one. More corners for Berry came and went, with his final tally showing Berry to have won 12. Another great save from Masfrey saw him tip the ball behind in the 75th minute, and an acrobatic attempt from Berry in the 80th narrowly went over the top of a goal. However, no further action came and it petered out to a goalless draw. Hyde United and Emily also played out a goalless draw on a clear and warm day in East Manchester, who, as both sides looked to ease themselves into the new season. Clear-cut chances, though, were limited in the opening period, with neither keeper being fully tested. Emily's Ben Bottomley caught a couple of crosses before Emily's first real attack saw a long throw by Joe Stacey cleared. Another throw from the opposite side caused a little bit of chaos in the Hyde box, but a final ball back in was caught by Hyde's keeper Eastham. Emily was slightly on top at this point and looked to stretch for home defence. Eventually a chance opened for Diego Di Girolamo to strike on the volley, but he slashed it well wide. Hyde then got on the front foot and started to cause problems for Emily, and Bottomley was called into action to get down low to save a flashing shot before the game's first hydration break. Emily then put a cracking move together as Johnson and Di Girolamo combined on the edge of the area. Neither of them could get sufficient time and space to get a shot on target before a Hyde boot cleared for a corner, which was then cleared by the home defence. Emily then had to defend as a neat chip from the edge of a D saw Bottomley at full stretch tip it over the bar. Emily were relieved when a massive penalty claim for handball was waved away by the ref, who gave ball to hand, which Hyde were far than happy with that decision. Despite finishing the half stronger, the home side couldn't pierce the strong Pewett's defence, marshalled well by Bottomley on his full debut for Emily, and the first half was goalless. There's a host who started the second half on the front foot, and its early break saw a booking for Ellis Farah, who had to stop a breakaway by means of fouling. It would be the only yellow card in a fairly competitive encounter, as the resulting free kick was well wide. But the Tigers kept coming back at Emily, and another fine save from Bottomley denied the host the opener when he got down low to save a rasping shot. Hyde's next chance came from an Emily attack, and the ball found Stacey wide left, but Hyde cleared and raced away downfield. But the attacker's touch was a poor one, and Emily survived again. It was all hands to the pump for Pewitt. Shepherd made a couple of vital tackles to stop attacks, and went on hand to set up Emily's best chance of the half so far. Emily attacked down the right, follow debutants Alex Kiwomia and Di Girolamo combined this time to set up Stacey, but was cleared away at the other end. Another Hyde attack finished with a weak header, then dropping wide before another break in play for drinks. Substitutions then broke up much of the flow of the game, and Emily introduced debutant Arena Ajupi to replace Farah, and then Hansen came on for Kiwomia, who hobbled off and took the applause of a travelling support. Another effort from Hyde was gathered low by Bottomley, now entering the final stages, and Shepherd was again on hand to clear his lines with a fantastic brave header at a back post from an equally good header from a corner, and following that, a tame volley by Hyde was easily gathered by Bottomley, who enjoyed a fine competitive debut for Emily. Another debut, this time for Jamie Murray, who replaced Aaron Haswell, another one making his full debut as Emily looked to hold on for a point. Emily had the chance to snatch all 3 points as the move ended with Lindley firing one in from the edge of the box, but it took a deflection and the corner was cleared. There then came a controversial moment in the game as Hyde had a goal disallowed in the last minute. A throw-in on their left looked to glance from Jack Redshaw and crept in to the delight of the home supporters and the players. But the official saw a push on Bottomley, who was prone in his goal and was disallowed the goal after appearing to give it initially. Hyde were very unhappy with this decision, and Lawrence Haindo replaced Gabby Johnson, and it was he who had Emily's last effort, letting off a shot and turn, but the keeper gathered easily, and the last action of the game then saw Bottomley with another good save to deny the Tigers out of death. Warrington Town went out 2-1 winners away to Guiseley, with the line starting brightly, and the 4 minutes miscued bicycle kick by Ollie Brown fell kindly for Adam Lund, who hit an excellent low drive into the left-hand corner from 25 yards. The lively Jack Goodman was prominent for the visitors when they broke down the right wing, and Rhys Daly was also a threat. On 13 minutes, Cam Wilson made a brilliant run forward, but couldn't quite finish Amir Birchall with a through ball, as the Lions exerted consistent pressure on Warrington. Lucas Dunstan and Birchall combined well down the right several times, with Dunstan sometimes in a more advanced position. Harrison Hopper gave a referee no choice but to give a second yellow when he halted a Warrington break with a clear trip. The Lions came close to a second when Birchall, as ever leading the press, closed down the keeper after a back pass. The ball eventually fell to Aaron Martin, but under pressure he couldn't find enough power in the shot. The drinks break proved a watershed moment. Paul Carden was seen in an animated discussion with the Warrington team, and they were a different proposition when the game resumed. A fine shot from the edge of the area by Ewan Banji was deflected narrowly wide before a shot by Rhys Daly was blocked for a corner. The ensuing corner was headed home by an unmarked Ewan Banji on the edge of a 6-yard box on 42 minutes. Warrington were the sharper of the two out the blocks in the second half and won a free kick 10 yards inside the Guiseley half towards the touchline. Daly lofted the free kick beyond the far post, where Alex McNally sent a looping header which looked harmless at first across the goal where it dropped in at the far post. There followed a period of indecisive defending by the Lions, who couldn't clear their lines, and it took a brilliant block by LeBron and Mabeka from Daly's close-range volley to keep the Lions in the game. Perhaps the several headers from the long balls forward, but there were rarely any takers. A surging run by Birchall was then stopped by Goodwin at the expense of a yellow card. Over the last 30 minutes, Richards made a number of changes, but was nowhere through with a resolute Warrington defence blocking shots and clearing crosses with a reasonable comfort. Ilkeston Town ran out 1-0 winners against Stockton Town, with the visitors forcing the first opening of the afternoon with 5 minutes gone, as Jake Pettigian called Sam Wilson into action, where he made a smart stop to his left. Ash Hunter fashioned the Robins' first chance after 11 minutes, driving through the middle of the box, before he fired an effort high above the bar. Tris Whitman's new-look Ilkeston side grew into the game as the midway point of the half dawned, excellently containing Stockton, who posed plenty of questions. Heroics from Wilson kept the Robins level in going into half-time, as he acrobatically denied a goal-bound effort from Leighton Watts from 18 yards out after 43 minutes. The first chance of the second 45 fell to Ilkeston through Hunter, who drew a free kick after being halted by the Stockton defence. However, he was only able to strike his effort way above the target. The visitors nearly broke the deadlock just after the hour mark, as Joshua Scott headed over from the point-blank range. The Robins had the frame of a goal to thank within 10 minutes remaining, as Thomas Coulthard struck an effort onto the inside of a post, which Ilkeston managed to scramble clear. As the second half came to a close, Ilkeston ramped up the pressure on their opponents, creating a host of good openings which they could not take. However, at the death, the Robins secured the last 3 points in an incredible fashion, as Joyce converted from close range for the last kick of the game. With the last one in the... Is it the last one? It might be the... Yeah. Leek Town versus Whitby Town ended with Whitby Town running out 2-1 winners. Leek got off to a perfect start within just 12 minutes as a long ball found Jack Griffiths, who tried to go around the goalkeeper, but was initially denied. However, Alex Panther poked it home to make it 1-0 to the hosts. Another opportunity fell Leek's way as Griffiths curled a shot just wide as he came agonisingly close to doubling the lead. On the stroke of half-time, Leek almost gifted Whitby an equaliser after a poor back pass wasn't controlled by the keeper. Dino Visser just rattled the post. Just a few minutes later, Visser redeemed himself though, as a cross was unable to be converted from 3 yards out due to a great save. It took 2 minutes into the second half for Whitby to level the game as a dangerous cross into the box was tapped in by Stuart Rose. In the final 25 minutes, a ball played down the left flank found Hickman, who had a clever finish to give Whitby what proved to be the winner. The last chance of the game fell to Buckley at the back post as his shot went wide from an Alex Hurst cross. And then the final one in the Northern Premier League with Warrington Rylands running out 3-0 winners over FC United and Manchester. Warrington Rylands began the new season in true style with a 3-0 victory over title contenders FC United and Manchester in front of 1,200 supporters. FC United started confidently, moving the ball about accurately around the pitch, but it didn't take long for Rylands to settle into the game and begin taking control. However, Rylands fans were left disappointed to see a powerful defender of Matt Regan limping off after just 17 minutes with a calf problem. With Neil Reynolds on the sideline serving a 4-match ban, Lewis Hardcastle had to bring on the midfielder Dean Furman into the action, changing the shape of the team. That didn't seem to faze the side, as just a minute later, Ben Hardcastle made the crossbar wobble with a superb run and shot. Jake Burton then took on a defender and, despite the size difference, won the ball. With only Dan Atherton to beat, Jake calmly placed the ball into the net to give Rylands the lead. Just before half-time, a new signing and captain Joe Riley found himself through on goal. He chose to lob Atherton and successfully found the net to make it 2-0. United pushed hard to reduce the deficit after a break, but the Blues were more than equal to the challenge. Rylands also continued to look dangerous whenever they moved forward. Both sides made changes late in the game, but it was an academy product who would score the next goal. Ryan Tiofo took advantage of a slip by the opposition midfielder and raced towards goal. With Riley supporting him, Ryan did what any striker would do and went for goal. Despite a strong challenge, he beat Atherton for a third time to make it 3-0. We're now going to round up the Isthmian League. Just want to say this, I think this might have to be a two-parter. I'll do the FA Cup and remainder of the Tier 8 games in a next part, because I will need to have tea and a break at some point. But onto the Isthmian League roundup with AFC Whiteleaf losing 2-0 to Carshalton Athletic. Nathan Young-Coombs got the game underway, and the opening stages were cagey as both sides settled into the game. It was a warm afternoon at Flamingo Park with both teams looking to find their rhythm in the early stages. The Robins enjoyed plenty of possession without creating any clear-cut opportunities, while Whiteleaf were also struggling to find a way through the Carshalton defence. Both sides were patient in their build-up with neither goalkeeper seriously tested during the opening 10 minutes. Carshalton had the first opportunity of the game in the 10th minute as young Coombs picked the ball up from outside the penalty area. He looked up and saw Whiteleaf's goalkeeper Slav Hook off his line. He attempted a lob, but the effort went just over the crossbar. AFC Whiteleaf were growing into the game themselves, and they had the first opportunity on the 20th minute. Addy Cole did well to beat a few players before trying his luck from outside the box. The strike took a deflection which nearly beat Dudzinski, but the effort went just over the crossbar and out for a corner. Cole went close again shortly after, and this time he raced through into the box from the right-hand side and went one-on-one with Dudzinski, but the Robin shot-stopper got down well to make the save. Whiteleaf would live to rue these missed opportunities, as just a few minutes later the Robins took the lead. Carshalton won a free kick on the left-hand side, which was taken by Jack Jebb. The former Arsenal youngster launched a dangerous delivery into the penalty area as centre-back Prince Condolo rose highest and got his head onto the ball just ahead to beat ahead of the goalkeeper Slav Hook, with the ball rolling into the back of the net to give the Robins a 1-0 lead. Carshalton were in the ascendancy and nearly made it 2-0 on 36 minutes. Nathan Young-Coombs struck an effort from just outside the box as the strike was low and travelled through a crowd of bodies, and it looked like it wouldn't sneak into the bottom corner. However, Hook got down well to tip it around the post. Young-Coombs went close again shortly after, as Jake Jebb's ball in from the left-hand side was met by the head of Young-Coombs, but the header was straight at Hook, who was able to push away. Robins then had a golden opportunity to double their advantage on 42 minutes, as Nathan Young-Coombs raced into the penalty area before being brought down. With the referee pointing straight to the spot, young Coombs stepped up to take it and hit the ball low to Huck's left. However, Huck, known for being a penalty specialist following his shootout heroics in last season's playoffs, was able to guess correctly, and the former Dorking man held on to the spot kick. AFC Whiteleaf got the second half underway, and the Robins made a positive start. Within the first few minutes, Jack Jebb left a shot at goal just outside the area, which tested Slav Huck, but the Whiteleaf stopper made the save. The Robins went close again on 54 minutes as young Coombs did well on the right-hand side and played a powerful ball across the penalty area. Tolu Ladapo was on the end of it and tried to divert the ball towards goal, but Huck did well to make the save. The Robins finally capitalised on their advantage, doubling their lead on 61 minutes. Whiteleaf had the ball at the back, but Tope Fadahunzi and Nathan Young-Combs were pressing hard to win the ball back. That pressure did force a mistake from Whiteleaf, and the Robins were able to steal the ball back on the right-hand side. The ball was played across to Jack Jebb, who fired into the far corner to make it 2-0. AFC Whiteleaf weren't giving up and were attempting to get back into the game. On 74 minutes, Francis Mampolo got into a good position for the host just outside the box, but he dragged his shot wide. Mampolo was involved again on 84 minutes and let fly with a powerful shot at goal. However, Dudzinski was alert and did brilliantly to tip the ball away for a corner to preserve his clean sheet. Carlshoughton made further number of changes in the second half, including bringing on Charles Hagan and Josh Koroma. The two combined well in the 88th minute, with Hagan delivering a ball in from the right-hand side, and Koroma found himself in a decent position. But he couldn't keep his shot down as the effort went over the crossbar. Whiteleaf won a late corner as they looked to snatch the goal back and set up a frantic finish. The delivery was met by the head of Aaron Good, but the AFC Whiteleaf defender headed over the crossbar. Carlshoughton then had two late chances in the stoppage time to put the icing on the cake. Tyrese Osborne cut the ball back to Josh Koroma, who aimed his strike for the far corner, but his effort flew just wide past the far post. From the next move, Charles Hagan raced into the penalty area and fired an effort towards the bottom corner, but the strike went agonisingly past the far post. After a lengthy stoppage time period, the referee blew his whistle for full time, securing a hard-fought 2-0 win for Carlshoughton. Aveley drew 2-all with Eastbourne Borough, as Borough looked to get on the front foot early on, with Freddie Carter having a header deflected away before Darren McQueen poked an effort wide of a near post. Ollie Peters volleyed just wide at the other end after Borough headed a corner out as far as the edge of the area, before Liam Nash tested Charlie Turner but had his free kick parried away by the good diving keeper. Corbett then had hit an effort deflected into the arms of the Aveley keeper after good work from Harry Phipps, before Carter then forced Turner into a good save at his near post with a powerful drive from the right-hand side. And the Sports then went in front on 35 minutes. Phipps swung in a ball from the left-hand side, and the ball broke to Egbury, who wrong-footed the goalkeeper and before firing home from close range. One almost brought two for Steve King's side as Corbett lined one up from 35 yards as his strike dipped and swerved, but Turner managed to tip the ball onto the crossbar. However, Aveley almost drew level before the break as a great block from a lunging Phipps denied Chris Harris before Matt Johnston met a corner with an acrobatic overhead kick. But Lewis Carey showed great reflexes to tip the ball over. Within 5 minutes of a restart, the hosts were level when Jaden Robinson received the ball on the edge of the box and left-footed finish fired a shot through a crowd of players and inside the near post. The Sports looked for a response as Giles Phillips headed Corbett's free kick just over the bar. But as the second period wore on, neither side could really get on top of a game that lacked any flow. The scrappiness continued in the latter stages, and Borough went back in front on 83 minutes with a goal that summed up the second half, as Josh Reed pounced on a loose ball after Darren McQueen was tackled, and he found Corbett across Turner and into the bottom corner. However, 89 minutes on the clock, the hosts would draw level for the second time. Craig Eastman's appeals for a foul were waved away as he was pushed to the ground, and the ball eventually dropped to Harris. He had his shot blocked, but it fell into the path of the substitute, Toby Aramolaran, who fired home off the rebound. Cheshunt drew at 0-0 with Stanway Rovers, as it was a timid goalless draw between these two sides on the opening day. And the Premier Division newcomers, Stanway Rovers, dominated possession in the opening stages, with Dorian Bitterlow's runs down the right and corners from Cole de Silva was how Cheshunt fashioned their opportunities. The Ambers hit the bar from one corner, and a head back by Fletcher Hedge at the far post should have snuck in at the near. Hosts midfielder Kai Halil went close with a shot that was too high, and then had a shot shortly afterwards from further out that looked destined for the top corner, only for Stanway's goalkeeper Dean Henry to tip it over. Former Cheshunt man Matty Fanimo looked dangerous on the break with defence splitting passes, with the second definite goal-scoring opportunity being sliced wide by Charlie Hughes. Defensive displays were sublime in the second half, with little room or time for creativity, and the strikers became isolated. Late in the game, Cheshunt's substitute Luke Chowell beat the offside trap twice, and the keeper to get on a bouncing ball on the edge of the area, but drew one shot wide, and the one on target was pulled back for a high foot. Kenny Coker then glanced a header wide, meaning the game ended goalless. Brentwood Town won 2-0 over Burgess Hill Town. Both sides fashioned hard chances in the opening stages, with Brentwood's first real threat coming from a Max Hudson free kick, but combined with pressure from Bradley Satch, who caused uncertainty in the visitors' defence. Burgess Hill enjoyed a good spell of possession midway through the first half and looked the strongest side for a period, with Joel Daly and Chris Whelpdale helping both trying their luck from distance. However, neither effort tested Aidan Prawl. Just as the opening 45 minutes looked destined to end goalless, the Blues struck on the half time, and Hudson won a free kick in a dangerous area, and Charlie Adams produced an inch-perfect delivery into the box, where Satch was left unmarked to calmly place his finish beyond Rocco Rees. Brentwood managed the second half impressively, particularly in the hot conditions, and almost doubled their lead shortly after a restart. Benes Vivada was brought down on the edge of the area after stealing possession, with loud appeals for a red card dismissed by referee Robert Alderton, who instead showed Luther Williams a yellow card. Adams' powerful effort from a resulting free kick was pushed well away by Rees, and clear-cut opportunities were at a premium as Brentwood controlled proceedings and limited their visitors to very little in the final third. With the score still 1-0, Burgess Hill were forced to commit more bodies forward in search of an equaliser. Keith Ronan introduced Nat Mardell and Freddie Sears with 15 minutes remaining, both making their home debuts. And it was Mardell who wrapped up the points in the 83rd minute, after Burgess Hill failed to clear a Brentwood corner. Jesse Olakulu showed excellent skill to beat the defensive line before clipping a superb cross into the area, where Mardell glided his finish into the back of the net for a debut goal. From there, Brentwood comfortably saw out the closing stages to score an opening day clean sheet, with Prowl rarely called into serious action throughout the afternoon. Dulwich Hamlet beat Malden and Tiptree 6-0. Dulwich Hamlet started their season in a perfect manner with a 6-0 hammering of Malden and Tiptree, with the Hamlet being 5-0 up at half-time. The season was just 7 minutes old when Nyron Clunis broke the deadlock when he fired past former Dagenham Redbridge shot-stopper Elliot Justum. Just 5 minutes later, Dulwich doubled their lead through David Smith, and Clunis had won the ball back in midfield and found Lonit Thaler, who fed Smith, who poked it home and put the hosts in a commanding position. Clunis continued to control the game and got his brace on 20 minutes, and a perfect start continued as Luke Wanardio made it 4 on the half-hour mark, before Gaspar Miko got the 5th just before half-time. In the second half, Hamlet didn't let up and continued to impress, looking for a 6th. That came in Sol Boa on the hour mark, who had come off the bench to round up a dominant Dulwich display. Three Bridges lost 3-2 to Dartford, as there wasn't much between the two sides during the opening exchanges in front of 519 supporters, but the visitors did look the more likely to score first. The hosts could consider themselves fortunate to not find themselves a player down early on, when goalkeeper Harry White rushed out and took out a Dartford player who was virtually clean through on goal, but a referee only issued the shot stopper with a yellow card. The hosts then raced forward on the 16th minute as Emmanuel Oke committed a foul inside the area, and the referee pointed to the penalty spot, which Charlie Bennett coolly fired home to break the deadlock. Dartford responded immediately via Ben Greenhall, who fired wide of White's upright, The player manager tried again 7 minutes later, but his strike flew narrowly over the crossbar on this occasion. However, despite their efforts, the visitors soon found themselves further behind when Kevin Riviera was brought down inside the Dartford box, and up stepped Bennett once again to double the Bridges' lead. Yet Dartford kept on pressing forwards, with Greenhall looking for any opportunity to test White, and he did indeed do that on the 41st, when his corner forced White to make the save to prevent the ball from dropping into his goal. Then on the stroke of half-time, the Darts had pulled a goal back when Greenhall received the ball at his feet and fired in his first goal of the season. The hosts responded well to force Ryan Sanford into two superb saves in quick succession during time added on before the break. The start of the second 45 saw Dartford pressing and probing for an equaliser, yet it was Sanford who called into action first to prevent a free Bridges corner from going in. But the darts kept coming, and when Ben Greenhall's free kick was met by the header Joe Tennant, there was only ever going to be one outcome, and that from that and an equalising goal. 2 minutes later, the game was turned on its head after Dan Smith headed a ball across the box for Max Fidders to open his account for his new club. The hosts were playing a high line as they tried to carve out an opening, and aside from a few half chances, together with a superb interception by George Whitefield, Ryan Sanford looked relatively comfortable between the Dartford posts. In fact, it was the visitors that came closest to adding a fourth goal when Dan Smith forced Harry White into a fine save late on. Dartford then did their best to defend their lead during the 8 minutes of additional time, as they frustrated their hosts to secure victory on the opening weekend of the Isthmian Premier League. Ramsgate lost 2-1 to Leatherhead, as Leatherhead made a perfect start back at the Premier Division level with a 2-1 victory on the Kent coast against Ramsgate. Kofi Onakoye Boardi gave Tanners the lead 10 minutes in, and Harry Murphy doubled the lead against runner play. Callum Jones pulled one back from Ramsgate, as they should probably have scored more in the first half, as Dave had two close-range headers blocked. Billy Monday had a shot fire over the bar, and Benny Biolette had a header saved by Sonny Wheeler. The Tanners nearly increased their lead early in the second half, a Cameron Black header from a corner, only to be denied by a goalkeeper of Johnny Henley. The second half was well controlled by Leatherhead, with Marcel Barrington clearing close twice. Wheeler made a great save from Tom Clifford's effort on the hour mark, with a rebound just evading a waiting Alfie Paxman. Leatherhead, who are now 27 games unbeaten away from home, and Niran Butler, who made his 100th appearance for Leatherhead, showed Ramsgate, who could have gained something from the game, how difficult this division will be this season. Lewes lost 4-0 to Enfield Town, as it was the first goal came in a matter of minutes in, a short corner routine leading to a pinpoint edge of a box strike by Tanimowo, giving the Towners an early advantage. Noel Fisher tested the goalkeeper moments later, but it was Enfield that struck again. A defensive mix-up handed Avgustidis an open goal, and he tapped home in front of their travelling fans. A couple of decent chances then came the Rook's way, with the home side looking for a decent way back into the game, as Andrew Briggs crossed into a teasing free kick on the 25 minutes mark, with Josh Spinks glancing his header just wide. Danny Bassett then found himself denied by a goal-saving block after Callum Newsom's one-on-one attempt was put straight at the Enfield keeper Thompson. Enfield continued their clinical edge for a goal from Deslandes after winning the ball high up on the pitch. The second half started brighter for Lewes, with chances for Fisher, Bassett and Briggs came, although nothing clear-cut. Enfield capped off a ruthless afternoon with a break down the left-hand side, with substitute Shiloh Remy poking home at the back post to make it 4. St Albans City won 3-0 over Chatham Town, as the Isthmian League 2026-27 campaign got underway to a cagey start for both sides. Following the hydration break, the Saints re-entered the field looking a completely different side. Mikey Faulkner came close with a half chance, resulting in visitors scrambling away, and Kieran Petrie provided the lead shortly after. The winger set a low drive straight into the back of the net from the edge of the box, following good work by Jake Gray and Kai Brown. The Saints secured the second moments later, and Mikey Faulkner getting his first in Saints colours. Zane Banton was played through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and a shot stopper denied the forward. Petrie on the overlap delivered to the back post, finding the feet of Mikey Faulkner on the half volley. In the 7th minute of added time, the Chats went down to 10 men as Harry Lodovica appeared to elbow Darian Furlong in the face off the ball. City then entered the break 2 goals into the good. The Chats grabbed a goal back though through Jimmy Wild, a low strike from the edge of the box that deceived Donkey into finding the net. Within less than a minute, Jake Gray restored the 2-goal advantage as the new summer signing midfielder found a top corner from inside the box, regaining the City's 2-goal lead. St Albans wanted more as Kai Brown's floated header hit the crossbar after a whip cross from Jack James, and substitute Ene Effiong came close when across the box ball from Kai Brown found the striker's path, and attempting the effort with his right foot, Effiong misconnected with the ball and hit his left foot in the process, creating a simple save for the keeper. Oh, tell you what, chap. It's a long one. We're going to move on to Welling United in their 2-0 win over Whitehawk in the penultimate one we're doing in the Isthmian League roundup. As the team set off to start their new season, and Welling started the game on the front foot. Both teams had chances early on, and Whitehawk found Kamani Ryan using some tricky feet to get past 2 Wings defenders. But ultimately, they were denied by Mackenzie Foley in goal. It was then Welling's turn to show the visitors that they could offer something going forward, with a deep free kick from Sam Smith just missing a header of Nathan Cooper from 6 yards out. In the 12th minute, Damare Anyadiki used his pace to escape the Whitehawk defender, then proceeded to fire in a low cross which Adi Aziz was able to connect with, forcing Whitehawk's goalkeeper Clevin Mucker into action for the first time with a good save. After an eventful 15 minutes, the game naturally started to slow down, with the Wings starting to see a lot more of the ball and controlling the game. Whilst out of possession, the home side were relentless in their press, often forcing the visitors to fence into mistakes. Whitehawk had their chance to retaliate from pressure the home side were putting on, when the 33rd minute corner swung in deep by Reece Murphy, connecting with the head of Nikolai Krokin, whose attempt went narrowly wide. The Wings responded shortly with a corner of their own, only a minute later, with Whitehawk were able to get the ball cleared, but only as far as the Wings fullback Chris Arthur, whose marvellous 30-yard effort was inches away from sailing into the top left corner. The second half got underway, and just like the first half, Welling's constant pressing to Whitehawk's backline was causing the visitors trouble. Damari Anyadike won the ball high up the pitch, nicking it off the Whitehawk defender, floated across onto the head of Adi Aziz, whose effort ended up just wide of the post. Whitehawk were quick to respond, however, in the 56th, with Kamani Ryan picking up the ball on the halfway line and driving at the Welling defence. Unfortunately for the forward, his effort on goal was easily prevented by the duo of Dean Gunner and Nathan Cooper. Not long after, Wings substitute John Afua decided it was his turn to go on a magical solo run, scooping the ball past 2 defenders and then firing in a low shot which Muka was able to deny. But the Wings kept applying pressure to the visitors. However, as the minutes on the clock dwindled down, it looked like it would be the Welling's day. When that was until the 81st minute, and where a low corner came in from Sam Smith, that was cleared with ease and fell to Chris Arthur, who struck once again from long range. This time, his effort was low and hard and straight into the bottom right. Parkview Road erupted as Welling took a 1-0 lead within 10 minutes to play. The remaining minutes of the game saw the Wings soak up a lot of pressure from the visitors, and Whitehawk threw everything they had at the home side. However, in the 91st minute, Tycon Bennett spearheaded a counter-attack down the right-hand side, with a low cross finding the debuting striker, Nahum Melvin Lambert, who arrived at the back post to seal the game off for Welling. Wingate and Finchley drew 1-1 with Cray Wanderers in their final Isthmian League game, as the ones in their new claret away colours started the game well and have a first shooting chance in the 4th minute when Alex Hernandez turned down the right on the side of the area and drove in a shot, which was well held by Granger. In the 9th minute, Wingate and Finchley took the lead with their first real moment of danger when Anointed Chukwu found Nazala down the left of the area and applied a cool finish against his former club, drilling past Henry Molyneux into the bottom right corner. The home side now had the upper hand for this for a spell, and from a free kick out on the left from Sam Cornish to the far post, aimed for Nazala, but fell to Fremper, who headed against the post. Cray won a couple of corners, but again the Blues threatened through Nazala, who fired a cross shot wide of a goal. Then Koyolin, I don't know if that's that, Megetiskin, drove into a shot that was blocked by Spencer Adams, and the game, though, had a key moment in the 32nd minute when Toby Tinabu, on his debut for Wingate and Finchley, was shown a straight red card for a lunging tackle on Frankie Raymond. Cray looked to arrest the initiative, but would find the home side in belligerent mood at the back, the closest in the first half coming when Ola Ogunwamidi volleyed over from Frankie Morgan's cross. Rob Strachan was booked in what could have been a red, and Cray looked to change things when Latif Adaja coming on at half-time, but again found openings difficult to come by early on. Wingate and Finchley were defending their box well from corners and free kicks, but the introduction of Shea Hutchinson and Mitchell Chapman began to turn the tide. The Blues almost added a second through Chukwu as he saw a low drive turn around the right post by Molyneux. But Cray began to exert more pressure, and Hutchinson down the right put over a cross, which was met by the head of Yusuf, but couldn't get full purchase on the header, and it was claimed by Granger. The Wandsworth came closest yet a couple of minutes later, when after a break from Wingate and Finchley, attack the ball was worked down the left, and Yusuf's ball across fell invitingly for Kedar, but under pressure from Fremper, put the ball over the bar from inside the 6-yard box. A goal for Cray looked to be coming, and did so in the 76th minute, when following a corner, the ball came to Morgan, whose ball into the box was pinpoint, and Yusuf got in front of Casey Shan to plant a textbook header into the net. A minute later, Yusuf had the ball in the net again, but was disallowed for offside. But towards the later stages, it looked like a draw would be the final outcome. There was one more opportunity for each side as Wingate and Finchley came close from a free kick out on the left, and Ryan Lowe's cross towards the right post was headed wide on the left post by Kai Thomas Fraser. For Cray, with the last kick of the game from a free kick on the left, Frankie Raymond's shot was tipped over by Granger, but the whistle went before a corner could be taken, and the game finished in a draw, which over the 90 minutes was probably about the right result. We're going to do 2 more roundups of the step 3 games, and then I'll call it an end for the stream. As I'm going to recap the Southern League Premier Central. And we're going to start with Anstey Nomads and their 1-1 draw against Leiston. With Anstey Nomads in their debut season at Tier 7 began better of the two sides and won a free kick as early as the 2nd minute, and Lewis Gibbons connected at the back post, but his shot was wide. 4 minutes later, and Hill was adjudged to have fouled a player on the right flank, and a free kick into the area was again met by Gibbons, but his header went over Callum Robinson's crossbar, and on 10 minutes, Callum McFadden headed away across, this time from Leiston's left, before captain Seb Dunbar headed away a corner as the home side started brightly. A mistake in the home defence meant Willie Clemens got in on goal, but Brad Clarkson made himself big, and Clemens could only shoot wide of the keeper's right hand upright. On 15 minutes, Louis Rose's half volley was pushed away well by Robinson to his right, before 3 minutes later, Dunbar and Adam Mills linked up well on the left. But the Blues captain ran the ball out of play. It was the home side who took the lead on the 24th minute when Leiston couldn't defend against a ball from their right, and Harvey Kirby Moore headed home from 12 yards at the back post. Anstey Nomads then had a chance to put just past the hour mark, but Henry Bestwick side-footed over Robinson's bar. Sayers' ball nearly got in Mills moments later before Mills's cross from Leiston's left found Jude Frostick, but the midfielder headed just wide of Clarkson's left-hand post. The last real action of the half saw home right back Kyle Tomlin shoot over from a free kick on the edge of the Blues box. Leiston came out with an attacking purpose after a break, and Mills shot just 40 seconds into the half, which was excellently blocked. But after the corner was only cleared for a throw-in, the ball broke to Sayer on the edge of the box, and he shot into Clarkson's bottom left-hand corner to draw the sides level. The Blues then brought Tadej Ibrahim on for a first appearance to replace Ryan Jarvis. Robinson then came to claim a corner from Anstey, with the Blues keeper impressing all afternoon. He then came for a crowded penalty area 3 minutes later to hold a corner before Hill went down under a challenge on the right, and both teams rushed over to their respective dugouts to get a drink. Mills played in Sayer after play got back underway, but Sayer shot wide of Clarkson's left-hand post this time. Dunbar made a good block inside of the Blues penalty area at the other end, while on the 74 minutes. Frostit worked Clarkson from outside the box, with the keeper getting down to his right. 2 minutes later, at the other end, Robinson kept out an effort, and at the other end, getting down low to his right to palm ball away to safety, while a shot from the others went just over moments later. Robinson made another terrific stop on the 82nd minute, getting down again to his right, before Leiston broke up field, with Mills and Ibrahim striking the ball off target. On 89 minutes, Sayer showed brilliant individual play on the Blues left to nutmeg a defender and get into the box, but he shot against Clarkson's crossbar as the Blues almost nicked the win. Mills then shot just wide as Leiston finished strongly before referee Callum Johnson brought an end to proceedings on a hot afternoon. Bishop Stortford drew 0-0 against Banbury United, which was the only goalless draw in the only goalless game in the Southern League Premier Central Division. It was a bit of a drab affair, really, between Bishop Stortford and Banbury United. The opening bright spot came when Frank Norris outmuscled the defender and laid the ball to Harry Titchmarsh from the edge of the box, but his low shot was pushed behind by Jack Harding. Fabio Ferciglio dribbled to the edge of the box laying it off to Aaron Green, but his shot was saved before Verciglio's volley went straight at the goalkeeper. Max Woodford made a good save to deny Rico Patterson from the left, as the visitors looked for stronger towards the end of the half. Jake Thompson blocked Conor Ferguson's shot, and his following shot was just wide of the left post. Levi Steele saw his diving header blocked by Woodford from a left-sided free kick. From the ensuing corner, Bishop cleared to Tyrone Baker, who dribbled down the wing, cutting in on his right, but Harding rushed to close out the shot. Late in injury time, the Puritans had a free kick, which Otis Castle met in the air, but Woodford claimed in the air as well. Kettering Town beat Church 1-0, and was the new management duo Nick Green and David Bridgewater who oversaw their 10 men Kettering claim a 1-0 win. As Eddie Panther brought down the ball brilliantly on the right, unleashing a first-time shot under Redmond Evans to make it 1-0 9 minutes in. Church's keeper was the busier throughout the game, having to turn away Ty Fleming's effort, as well as two headers deep into the first half by Tom Leake and Theo Alexandru. Panther struck the post just before half-time, as the host looked for a second. Prolific striker Ben Stevens was kept quiet, but Miracle Okafor was a thorn in the side, shooting wide just 12 minutes in, and would have scored about half an hour in from a matter of yards out if keeper Paul White hadn't risked his own safety to save his shot. Church dominated possession in the second half, but without doing much with it. But they were given the advantage when Evans, having denied Panther's strike, saw Panther getting a second yellow for connecting with Jack Kelly instead of a ball with studs up. Okafor tried to make use of an extra man to level the game with a header hitting the post and did a late bicycle kick, but it came to naught. Kettering held on for all 3 points. Bury Town won 1-0 against Hales Owen Town, and this game is rather started very slowly, summed up by the fact that the only highlight of the opening 10 minutes was Jamie McGrath going down in the area with no penalty being given. The first piece of goalmouth action arrived before the quarter of an hour mark, as Ryan Woolacott dealt with an over-the-top ball from McGrath to sweep the ball across to Ryan Winter. Hales Owen had to wait until the 18th minute for their first shot of the game. On the edge of the box, Callum Ebanks held up the ball brilliantly to find Jason Coley. The ball instead found Todd Parker, whose shot was blocked. Just as one shot came, another one soon followed. A ball from Dan Meredith found Cowley, and he saw the latter hold off Joe Carroll before being brought down, with a resulting free kick from Cowley hitting the wall. The remaining almost half an hour was lacklustre, with the only sniff at goalmouth action being from Milan Butterfield's ball over the Bury backline to Cowley, but the experienced goalkeeper Charlie Beckwith met the ball first to gather it. So it was a bit of a poor half of football, really. And the second half very nearly started in an electrifying way, as Cowley yet again went on for the halfway spectacular. Only this time the ball went just wide. A rare chance for the hosts early in the half saw Ollie Canfer knock the ball off to Ben Cassidy for a corner. The delivery from Tommy Hughes bounced into the box, but the ball was cleared by Meredith. And as the match approached the hour mark, the game was still at a deadlock. But this is where the intensity slowly grew. A Cassidy burst through the middle as he saw him brought down on the edge of the area for a free kick. Standing over the set piece was Butterfield, whose strike went just over the bar. And just after the hour mark, the ball went in behind to George Quantrell down the left, as he saw the latter cross into the box. But Wallacott was positioned well to get down to kill out the ball. A goal for either side never really seemed to be on the cards, but when it did arrive, it was the host who was celebrating. A ball over the top from a Yelps defence found substitute Sam Ford, who slotted the ball past Dan Platt for his first competitive goal since arriving from step 4 side Felix Stone Walton United. Van Nielsen Silva brought some positive wide play off the bench, and Lewis Ison free kick found the top of the net. Needham Market lost 3-1 to Bromsgrove Sporting. Ryan Miles scored a long-range thunderbolt from Needham Market only 3 minutes in. There was then action at both ends 25 minutes in, with Liam Pearce's initial strike being blocked before shooting narrowly over the bar, while James Bradbuck had great reflexes to keep the game competitive. Jamil shortly afterwards levelled the tie, scoring into an empty net. Bromsgrove then took the lead 4 minutes later against run of play, with Jake Jervis scoring from a penalty spot to give the guests the advantage at half-time. Needham Market started the second half brightly, with Joe Neal's curling effort rebounding off the post, and Hammond then volleyed over the bar, but they thought they had an equaliser, only for a Sporting defender to hit the ball into the underside of the crossbar to keep it out. Kieran Morphew headed over Carl Hammond's free kick, and Bromsgrove wrapped things up yet again against run of play, as 2 minutes after the kickoff, the captain Ollie Harrison bullet-headed a corner to make it 3-1. James Bradbrook was called into action to prevent a fall from Trickett Smith's effort. Real Bedford beat Leamington 4-2. After a cagey opening 8 minutes, the visitors created the first clear opportunity. Chris Ree slipped Louis Ree through on goal, but his effort deflected narrowly wide for a corner. The Pirates responded with a promising effort from Josh Allen and Connor T, although neither could find the breakthrough. Ben Stevens was then released by Sam Collins, but what looked like a harmless attack suddenly sparked into life when a Leamington defender cleared straight into Jordan Ponticelli's path. The striker's goal-bound effort was well blocked by the Breaks defence, and Leamington took the lead in the 17th minute. Ray's missed-hit effort filed kindly for Rhea, and the Birmingham City loanee calmly rolled the ball beyond Craig King to put the visitors 1-0 ahead. Real Bedford immediately looked for a response, as Shaheem Ward picked out Allen with a superb curling pass, sending the forward for on goal. But Kean Tyler was equal to the effort and pushed the ball behind for a corner. The resulting delivery, though, almost brought an equaliser, but Sam Cartwright's looping header drifted just beyond the far post. T and Stevens continued to combine well down the left with a superb piece of skill from a winger, creating another shooting opportunity that was blocked by the Leamington defence. At the other end, King was called into action, producing an excellent low save to deny Cameron Eubank following a corner. The Pirates thought they had levelled just before the interval, as T again found space on the left and drilled a low cross towards Allen, who converted from close range, only for the assistant referee's flag to cut the celebration short. Real Bedford finally found the equaliser in the first half stoppage time, as Stevens threaded another excellent pass into T, who timed his run perfectly before pulling the ball back into the area. Ponticelli forced an effort towards goal, and with the aid of a deflection, the ball nestled into the back of the net to mark the striker's league debut with a goal and send the sides into the break level at 1-1. Leamington restored their advantage just 7 minutes after a restart, with Owen Farmer's cross from the left finding captain Kyle Finn, who produced an outstanding half volley to give the visitors a 2-1 lead. Once again, though, the Pirates responded quickly. Just 3 minutes later, Allen dispossessed Leamington's defence inside their own penalty area before squaring to Ponticelli, who guided a composed first-time finish high into the net to complete his brace and make it 2-2 in the 55th minute. Real Bedford continued to push forward in search of a third as CJ Kayala won possession on the right before driving into the penalty area, beating his marker with a series of clever step-overs before firing narrowly over the crossbar. The Pirates came within inches of taking the lead on the hour mark as Drew Richardson's perfectly weighted pass sent Allen clear, after rounding Tyler, his goal-bound effort looked destined for the net until Nat Kelly raced back to clear brilliantly off the line. Ponticelli thought he had completed his hat-trick moment later, but T was adjudged to have strayed marginally offside in the build-up. Further pressure followed as Andy Fanage and Allen combined neatly down the left before finding Ponticelli, whose effort was once again blocked by a determined Leamington defence. The visitors had a golden chance to regain the lead with less than 10 minutes remaining, with relaying the ball back to substitute Kobe Arthur on the edge of the box, but he blazed his effort comfortably over the crossbar. Real Bedford made Leamington pay with just over 5 minutes remaining, as Allen won a free kick around 20 yards from goal after some excellent hold-up play, and T stepped up to cut a magnificent strike into the top right corner, sending the Leisure Stadium into raptures and putting the Pirates ahead for the first time. Leamington searched desperately for another equaliser in the closing stage and re-found space inside the penalty area, but was denied by another outstanding save from King. The Pirates wrapped up the points in the final minute, as Ponticelli raced in behind the Leamington defence before selflessly returning the ball to Stevens, who took a touch from the edge of the area before confidently picking out the top left-hand corner to seal a memorable 4-2 victory. Ponticelli almost completed a dream debut in stoppage time, but his powerful strike flashed wide of the left-hand post. The final whistle marked Romp Sinclair's 200th win as manager of Real Bedford. Redditch United drew 1-1 with Leighton Town, as the Southern League Division 1 Central champions started life from the league above with a credible draw. Leighton Town's keeper, Dan Hosier, was called into action early to keep out Danny King's effort. However, he left the field 25 minutes in through injury. With no keeper on the bench, Sterling came on as a makeshift keeper. The fact he only conceded one is testament to how well he did in that game. Leighton Town went close to opening the scoring half an hour in when Captain Kyle Williams had his shot blaze over the bar, with King doing the same moments later at the other end of the pitch. Redditch took the lead on the 43rd minute when a corner was poorly dealt with and the Williams fielding effort took a deflection to give the hosts the opener. Stefan Vakoj had his efforts blocked in the dying moments of the first half, and Leighton equalised when a Williams cross from the right wasn't dealt with, and Sam King was alert to front the ball into the roof of the net. Both sides then tried to find a winner, which wouldn't come. Leighton had Sydney Ibe effort fly wide, and for Redditch substitute Tyler Brook and Dan Sweeney, it caused problems but couldn't get a strike goalwards. Racing Club Warwick drew 1-1 with Peterborough Sports, as a perfect start of the season for the freshly relegated Peterborough Sports, with an interception from George Hobbins on the edge of the box, finding Charlie Marzano, who fed it to Williams on the right, and he struck low past Tom Alsop for a debut goal. Williams continued to threaten on the wing and could have had a penalty after being hacked down inside the box, but the referee waved away protests and booked the winger for diving. The Turbines searched for a second goal with Lobjoit curling wide of the far post and Jack Duffy heading over the woodwork before the half an hour mark. Warwick had an opportunity to equalise as a poor clearance was met by Jude Collins at the far post. His effort deflected into the path of Ryan Moore, but a right back could only fire his strike into the side netting. The hosts drew into the game with Connor Keane firing over the woodwork from a distance before Tom Jackson denied Alex Worley an equaliser. Warwick grabbed an equaliser on the stroke of half-time as Kieran Cooney finded a header past Jackson at the far post from an in-swinging corner. Neither side created chances after the restart, with Cooney heading over James Hancock's free kick just after the hour mark. Williams drove an effort lower at Allsop before Jordan Cox directed Connor Wood's corner straight at Allsop. The Turbines had the chance to grab a late winner, with the ball falling to Jack Duffy inside a box, but his effort deflected wide past the post. Rushall Olympic ran out 2-1 winners against Hitchin Town, as Hitchin made the worst possible start on their long anticipated return to the Premier Division, when after Mason made a third-minute save, Rushall went ahead after 4 minutes. A good cross from Carter Lysett found Luke Yates, who headed past Mason. Hitchin were lethargic while Rushall played at a high intensity and were giving the opponents no time on the ball. It led to Hitchin making a number of long passes that were easily intercepted. Kyle Turl tried a speculative shot from 30 yards, but just went wide, and had another shot blocked after Rio Dio's cross, but it was Russell who looked far more likely to score. Liam McAllidan shot just wide before hitting the post after a neat piece of skill. Jamie Willits also hit the post before a Callum Nicholson corner went right across the goalmouth with nobody getting a touch. Hitchin wanted to reach half-time with just 1 goal deficit and reset for the second half, but in the 44th minute, Yates scored his second goal when Hitchin failed to clear in the goalmouth scramble. So there's always going to be an uphill struggle in the second half, but Hitchin was transformed from the first half display, with Temi Ekenbusoi replacing the injured Nicholson and offered a more physical threat. Indeed, he was brought down by Roddy McGlinchey after 53 minutes for a certain penalty. Turley provided a really confident penalty to halve the difference. Suddenly, Hitchin were on the front foot, and Rushall lost at intensity on the first half. Blue Joy did make a great block, but it was Hitchin now on top, as George Morrell replaced Dan Stoko and shot just wide after 76 minutes. Then Turl made an enterprising run that was met by Deal, who went just wide as well. Teal then had another shot saved, but Hitchin could not get that equaliser, and the second half performance probably merited one anyway. Joy made an excellent tackle after 92 minutes, but this was an isolated moment of Rushall pressure. Starbridge beat Stamford 2-0, as the fans hardly had time to settle in coming out of the bar before Starbridge scored in the second minute with a nice three-man move which saw Charlie Pavey release Josh Keener down the left, whose cross found Charlie Ragg to slot home. Starbridge continued to impress and looked for a second and could have doubled it lead moments later as Pavey produced another dangerous cross, but Dom Lewis couldn't quite connect. Stamford will have to thank Tyler Winters for the score went higher, as his goal line clearance denied Dom Lewis another miss for the Glass Boys, this time by Liam Brazier, who scuffed his shot with one-on-one with the keeper. Stamford almost levelled the game 3/4 of the way through when Charlie Price made a great save to deny Sam Bailey by plucking the ball from the captain's feet, and the Black Country-based side wrapped at a point in the 90th minute when the defender Harvey Porter bundled in Keener's corner. In the final one, Stratford Town levelled 1-1 draw against Worcester City. The early exchanges seeing the host on top as Macaulay Manning carved out a wonderful opportunity, working his way through the visiting defence before firing into the 6-yard box. But Trey Mitford's poked effort nestled into the gloves of Cristiano Desireluk. Mitford began to show his attacking prowess and came close to breaking the deadlock soon after, but saw his powerful drive tip wide. The Stratford forward finally put his name on the score sheet 4 minutes later, when the ball dropped to him on the inside of the box where he was alert. Hammering home with conviction, Kevin Bastos almost doubled the lead in the closing stages of the first half, driving down the left flank before cutting inside skillfully, only to send his effort wide of the mark. The visitors emerged from the interval with far more urgency and looked threatening from set pieces, as Charlie Wise found himself unmarked in the box twice, but failed to find the target on both occasions. The experienced centre-back then forced a fine stop from Jake Weaver in the 70th minute when he headed a corner goalward from a close range. As the time ticked away, the Bards took a more defensive approach, absorbing waves of pressure from the spirited visitors. Josh Taroney gave the hosts a late scare in added time when he let fly from range, but he saw his shot deflected wide for a corner. However, Worcester City finally penetrated the resolute Bards in the 92nd minute from a resulting set piece, when Josh Ezewele rose the highest to nod the ball in from 6 yards out. Despite a late push from Stratford, the hosts were unable to restore their lead with a late goal. And for round up, for the final bit for this one, because I do need to have tea, is the Southern League Premier Division South. We'll start with Basingstoke Town losing 4-2 at home to Ebbsfleet United, with Basingstoke having a better display in the opening half an hour through Tom Blake and Jeremiah O'Kine-Peters, who both missed golden opportunities early on, and O'Kine-Peters failed to punish Brendan Beer's decision to leave the penalty area. Evesham stopped late in the first half against a run of play as Amar Awed ran into Basingstoke's box, squaring to Kai Churchley to take advantage, scoring from close range. A second was scored by Brandon Liggett as the ball bounced around the area, but Basingstoke struggled to break through Evesham's defence, and in the second half, the Robins pressed home the advantage. Churchley added a third with a beautiful touch and a volley before getting a hat-trick when a through ball through the gaping gap in Basingstoke's defence enabled him to get past Simon Grant. 5 minutes stoppage time enabled Basingstoke to get a couple of consolations as Joey Lewis-Evans made a memorable debut with a 40-yard finish after Beer left his box, and Alex Kokonska danced through the penalty area before finishing high into the roof of the net from a tight angle. Chichester City lost 2-1 at home to Poole Town, and the game got underway with Poole on the front foot from the very off, and creating numerous half chances in the opening exchanges. It didn't take long for the Dolphins to open the scoring through a bizarre sequence of events, with a terrible back pass from one of the Chichester defenders, leading to an indirect back pass on the 6 yards box. Torre laid it off, and Davis smashed it into the roof of the net to give Poole a deserved 1-0 lead on the 22nd minute mark. Chichester went close to drawing it back on level terms just a few minutes later, but Ryan Campbell superbly cleared the ball off the line in a dramatic fashion. Poole doubled their lead on the 28th minute through Torre after he was found in behind by Hill, and took his chance by firing it into the bottom corner to make it 2-0. Davis almost found his second of the afternoon with a fine volleyed effort from the edge of the area, which drifted narrowly wide of the post. The half came to a close with Poole in a commanding lead and looking the better of the two sides. The second half got underway in similar fashion with Poole looking defensively resolute, while Chichester was slowly growing into the game, aiming for a way back in. Poole almost found their third after Hill was played for on goal, but he was unable to convert, with his effort sailing over the bar. Chichester did find their way back into it in the 82nd minute through Joe Clark, who headed home from a well-drilled corner kick. The home side piled on the pressure in the dying stages and went very close to an equaliser, but the Dolphins' defence held strong and managed to earn 3 points, with the referee's whistle bringing proceedings to a close. Frome Town beat Wimborne Town 2-0, with Magpies starting brightly, and in the first minute, Josh McQuaid actually picked up a loose ball in midfield, played Lewis Williams into space through the inside right channel, but his pass just went too far ahead of Will Fletcher. Then Williams cut in from a left touch line to fire low and hard towards the far post, but was inches wide. Before on 12 minutes, Josh Carmichael set up Charlie Woodin for a shot on the edge of the box, which again went agonising close to opening the scoring. Frome were dangerous though from set pieces all afternoon, and just before the midpoint of the half, a low in-swinging free kick from the right of the area was flicked over the bar as the cavalry charged towards the near post. As the host pressured with high intensity all over the pitch, they forced the visitors into making mistakes and free kicks. On the half-hour mark, a cleverly worked free kick from just outside the penalty area on the right side saw Ferris in space at the far post, but couldn't quite get his volley on target. Robbins repeated this move from another free kick 8 minutes later, but with a different result. This time, a tall centre-forward headed across keeper Kai Crampton for the ball to nestle into the far post. Before the goal, Wimborne had created chances too. Max Bustamante retrieved an over-hit corner to lift across into the danger area when Sam Roberts volleyed over. And on 35 minutes, Fletcher, for once, evaded his grappling markers to reach a Williams free kick, only for Phillips to make a brilliant reaction save from his close range header to tip the ball over the bar. The visitors made a bright start to the second half too. Carmichael and Wooding combined well down the right, and on the left, Cam Sullivan's dangerous low cross was hacked away as Fletcher closed in. On for 49 minutes, Sullivan's clever feet saw him create space through the inside right channel before unleashing a fierce drive from 20 yards, which was brilliantly turned around a post by the diving Phillips. Just before the hour mark, Buster Marstey's cross from the wide right was met by at the far post by McQuaid, only for his header to fly inches wide of the post with the keeper beaten. But the Robins continued to threaten as they attacked towards their mass support. On 67 minutes, a surging run down the right by Hopkins was legally stopped by Taylor Edmondson on the edge of the box to the right. The subsequent free kick was held up by Crampton at a nice height. But 3 minutes later, the hosts doubled their advantage. A long, high clearance into Warmbone's half caused a mix-up between Roberts and his keeper for Ferris to say thank you very much, as he rolled the ball into the unguarded net from an acute angle. Wimborne had a couple of opportunities to get a consolation. First, Joe Smith's goal-bound shot was deflected from a corner, before Wooding chanced his leg from distance, but well over. Berkhamsted won 2-0 over Havant at Waterlooville, with the opening 20 minutes was quiet with the visitors playing dangerous balls into Berkhamsted's penalty area, but all were well dealt with. The Comrades took the lead just before half-time as Lacey's 41st minute corner was picked up by James Gertine, but he was pulled down by Mason Hunter, leading to the hosts being awarded a penalty. Lacey went hard into the bottom right with Matt Kirby driving the wrong way. Berkhamsted resumed the second half like they ended the first, with Lacey playing a lovely ball to Billy Basari, whose curling shot hit the bar. In the 58th minute, Berkhamsted's Harry Rush played a great ball to Ryan Blake, who couldn't control the ball, and Havant's goalkeeper saved it. The Comrades doubled the lead in the 61st minute, with the loose ball finding Lacey. He played a through ball to Andrews, who picked out the bottom left corner to put Berkhamsted in control of the game. Now, a few crosses late on for Havant at Waterlooville, but defence and Hubert Drake stood strong. Gloucester City fell to a 1-0 defeat at home to Chertsey Town, as Chertsey Town actually started the game brightly with some good play down the right, creating the opening opportunity of the game. Joe Grant cut inside with his effort from a narrow angle, go over the bar, and Chertsey continued to threaten with Nathan Minas, who forced a save from Jared Thompson in Gloucester's goal. Resulting corner was headed over by a Chertsey player, and Minas almost put Chertsey ahead just before half-time, but was yet again denied by Thompson. Gloucester started the second half stronger, with Jake Evans finding space on the edge of the box before skimming the crossbar. Ashley Hemmings then came close with good movement, but his volley flew over. But against runner play, Chertsey found a breakthrough on the 54th minute as Grant scored with his left foot onto the top right corner. Substitute Ethan Dunbar came close to an equaliser, but he couldn't quite make contact from a teasing cross. But that meant Chertsey could hold on for a win. Hanworth Villa beat Taunton Town 2-0. With the early phase of play saw Villa's right wing-back Louis Gates in the fix of the action with darting runs, albeit without end product. At the end of the quarter-hour mark, Harding found himself one-on-one with Freddie Gooden, but the keeper denied him expertly. Dylan Jones hit wide of a post before the half hour after neat build-up play on the edge of a box by the away side. Then in the 34th minute, Harding tapped home after a penalty area scramble caused by Gio McGregor's cross from left. Harding could have doubled the lead 5 minutes after a restart, but his lobbed effort over Godden was also clearing the crossbar. A couple of minutes later, Hayden Vaughan went even closer with a direct free kick from the edge of the box past the far stick. The hosts finally doubled their lead when Light rose highest to nod in McGregor's cross in the 63rd minute. McGregor should have had scored a third himself 2 minutes later, but missed a golden opportunity to put the game to bed. Jay Murray somehow spurned an even bigger chance to get Taunton back in the game, but headed tamely straight into Dickinson's hands from close range. Substitute Remy Onabanjo's shot then missed the near post by a whisker after he cut in from the right. Taunton Town's chances of a late comeback disappeared instantly when Quita, just on as a substitute, was given his marching orders in the 80th minute for a rash challenge on Dickinson, whilst contesting a long ball. Villa wasted two further openings later on, first via a bully nutbean cross that evaded Onabanjo, and then by Harding blazing well over from a cutback. In the end, it didn't matter as the Rectory Meadow outfit got the campaign underway with 3 points in their Step 3 debut. Plymouth Parkway managed to run out 7-0 winners over Bracknell Town and just took 3 minutes from the Curtis era to produce its first goal. And it came from an unlikely source as captain Rio Garside delivered a superb corner into the danger area and centre-back Toby Down rose the highest to head Parkway in front. The opening 10 minutes were frantic, with Bracknell gradually adapting to the conditions and looking to impose themselves through Joshua Smith, who repeatedly tried to link up with Liddell. Parkway, however, quickly settled into their shape, with Will Sullivan causing problems for a series of intelligent runs, and Carlo Garside providing a pivot in midfield for Callum Hall and Rio Garside to press whenever possession turned over. Hall almost doubled their advantage on the 20th minute mark when a surging run and an effort was blocked, but the ball fell back to the number 8, who was crowded out inside the area. The second goal, though, was not far away. Again, it came from a Garside corner, and again, Down was in the right place. The centre-back found himself with the ball at his feet 6 yards from goal and calmly finished to make it 2-0. 5 minutes later, Parkway had a third. Joel Sullivan marked his debut in perfect fashion, drifting into the box before connecting, with a superb glancing header that looped over the outstretched Miles Brown. Bracknell had quality, with Linford Saki and Ruben Bartlett Antwi offering threats from the wings. But the late assembly of their squad was evident, as Parkway's organisation cohesion proved too much to handle. Down, Taylor Scarf and Mikey Williams forced a back three that had been barely tested, but formed a back three that had been hardly tested by the time the game reached the latter stages of the opening half. There was even time for some comic relief before the interval when referee Craig Scriven was caught by a close-range clearance in the face in the 43rd minute. The referee was back on his feet shortly afterwards, accompanied by an applause from around Bolifo. Before bringing on an outstanding first half to close, Bracknell attempted to find a way back after a restart, with Logan Coles replacing Smith, and the change brought the real involvement in for Deering, with the Parkway goalkeeper got down well to save from Saki, as the visitors tried to kickstart their afternoon. The opening 10 minutes of the second half, Parkway were content to sit in their shape, compact and organised, as Bracknell looked to build on their early spell. Then the thought of a comeback was extinguished on the 56th minute mark as a trademark run from the Williams Wizard, a sight Parkway supporters have become well accustomed to over the last decade, ended with number 7 being clipped in the inside of the box. Carlo Garside stepped up and made no mistake from 12 yards, sending Parkway 4-0 ahead. Andrew Neal's first touch after coming on almost produced an immediate assist, with Reece Thompson sending a looped header towards goal that landed on the top of the net. The frustration among the travelling supporters was now clear. Encouragement and drums gave way to a sarcastic chant of "We've had a shot," as Bracknell's hopes of salvaging anything from the game disappeared. Around 600 spectators at Bolifo were enjoying the performance, though. Neal would not have been kept quiet for long, producing a wonderful strike to make it 5. There was still time for another defender to join the scoring, with Toby Down already having grabbed 2, Taylor Scarf duly obliged on 82nd minute, adding 6 to cap a remarkable opening day for Curtis. But Parkway weren't finished. Neal struck again in the 89th minute to claim his second of the afternoon and complete a stunning 7-0 victory. 7 goals, a clean sheet and a perfect start for Curtis era. Malvern Town drew 2-2 with Hanwell Town. There were 3 goals in 5 minutes for both sides, either side of half-time, with visitors Hanwell Town opening the scoring after 42 minutes, when Dwayne Duncan headed a corner across against the crossbar before crossing the line, helped by a Sam Clark touch. Malvern rallied quickly, and captain Joe Tumulty was calm under pressure, slotting home a penalty just before the break to score Malvern's first touch at this level. Hanwell regained the lead when Henry Snee was left unmarked to score a header from Jordan Spirit's cross. Ibrahim Sanko then had a great strike but was pushed to safety by Charlie Binns, who signed for Malvern this summer. Malvern then had a chance of their own for a substitute Kobe Chong, and Clark eventually meant that the game would be a draw as he arrived with a goal with 4 minutes left on the clock as he got in front of his marker to level the game. Sholing had their game uh, end in a 2-1 defeat at home to Bath City. It was a strong start for the Boatmen as they had to play all of the play, as they had all of the play rather in the opening stages, with Ollie Pendlebury almost grabbing his first competitive Sholing goal after 8 minutes. But Harvey Wild Richards got down to push away his bending effort from the edge of the box. The opening goal wasn't far away as Sholing's fast start was rewarded. Tommy Willard did brilliantly to send the ball in from the right, with Michael Folivy on hand to do what he does best, as he stabbed home from 6 yards out to give the side the lead. The goal seemed to spark Bath into life as they began to dominate possession and grabbed an equaliser on the half an hour mark. Donovan Wilson edged his way into the box and from the right and sent the ball in for Scott Wilson to fire home from close range to haul his side level. The game then began to and fro as both sides created decent chances to go into the half-time with a lead. First, Jack Turner reacted superbly with his feet to deny Harry Parsons' long-range effort, before Willard forced Wiles Richards into a smart near-post save. The start to the second period mirrored that of the first, with boatmen pressing early, as Felive fired wide from the edge of the box with only 2 minutes played. Sholing had a golden opportunity to take the lead on the hour mark, as Reece Wiley did superbly to drive into the box from the right before he cut it back into Harry Taylor, who could only fire over the bar from 12 yards out. It was then another defender who came mighty close to the Biteman 5 minutes later, as Sam Magri curled marginally wide from the range. There was one-way traffic for the majority of the half as Felive came close again, with his near post deflecting wide of the post with 5 minutes left to play. The Bath sucker punch, however, came only moments later. Jordan Tilson shrugged off a challenge before dinking it through to Parsons, whose scuffed effort caught out Turner as it looped over a Sholing stopper and into the back of the net. The Boatmen were unable to find a leveller as their opening game ended in defeat. The penultimate game saw Uxbridge win 2-0 at home to Chippenham Town. The Bluebirds started the better side with Joel Adey-Alabi winning the ball in an advanced area with a cross well blocked. Moments later, it was an almost carbon copy move, with Jack Poffley crossing for Felix Miles, whose outstretched leg couldn't send the ball goalwards. Uxbridge responded well with a fierce drive from range that was well held by Harvey Rees, and the turning point of the match came on the 30th minute, as an Uxbridge corner was halted for the referee to pick the bones out of an incident. Will King was shown a direct red card for what Gary Horgan described as a kick-out rather, and Martel Taylor Crossdale, who had impressed in the opening part of the match, was sacrificed for Town to bring on Nelson Sanka. Momentum then shifted to the hosts, and Town began battle tooth and nail to keep the ball out of the goal. Rees saved and Haynes blocked effort from Uxbridge, number 10, George Moore. As the half-time whistle came and went, Chippenham continued to defend with their lives until the deadlock was smashed on the hour mark, with more netting following a set play. The cliche of being vulnerable soon after scoring was in effect, as Henry Sadie was put through on one-on-one with his effort saved. Uxbridge then doubled their lead on 69 minutes, with Toby Nandonzi heading in from close range. Soon after, Chippenham put on a stellar move together with Felix Miles bearing down on goal, with his efforts chipped onto the post. Following that corner, Haynes was hauled down on the area, with the officials looking the other way. Still a man down, the introduction of Marley Rose, Ethan Lindo, Josh Markin, and Connor Barrett was not enough for Town to fashion a concrete chance, and the match ended in a victory for the hosts. And quickly for the last one, Yate Town won out 1-0 winners of Gosport Borough, as Gosport started the brighter of the two sides, with the first chance of the afternoon falling to them. The visitors won a free kick on the edge of the area inside 5 minutes, and it was new signing Chris Campbell, who would step up to take it, but would see his effort saved by the diving Aaron Sainsbury. Then it was Yates' turn to take control of the game, as left-back Sam Morecambe would deliver a wide free kick towards the back post for Charlie Moody, who would see his header cleared off the line. 5 minutes before the break, the deadlock was broken by the hosts, as Morecambe would deliver a pinpoint cross towards the back post for Marlon Jackson to head past the diving Kai Plumley. The Bluebirds would start the second half well, and how they ended it on top. Inside 2 minutes, Jackson would receive a ball inside the area, but saw his effort saved. On the hour mark, Yate would come forward again. Substitute Sam Hendy delivered a long throw into the Borough area, with Tyrone Doofus rising the highest, but the centre-back was unable to direct his effort on target. From there on out, the game would be out with the visitors unable to find their way through the Bluebells' defence as Yate Town came out on top. I'm sorry, I will have to draw this one to a close early. There is plenty of stuff in the non-league world to go, and I've got so much FA Cup game and action to go through. Thanks again for all the match reports from the various club websites and the non-league paper, but I've been talking for the best part of 3.5 hours, and I just can't go any longer. I'm too tired. Please do subscribe because it took a lot of effort to research all this. I'll see you all hopefully tomorrow.